6:30. This time, I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Montpelier. A few opening words. Some we've done before, and some I'd just like to say a few words. But for everyone in the room and everyone on Zoom, a few ground rules for us. To help us have a welcoming, respectful, and productive meeting, let's begin with a few shared norms. We want to understand who is participating in the discussion, so please display your first name and last name if you're joining remotely, and whenever you speak, please begin by stating your name and where you live. We want everyone who wishes to speak to have the opportunity, so please keep your comments to about 3 minutes and focus remarks on the agenda item under discussion. We want our dialogue to remain respectful and constructive, so please focus comments and policies on decisions and ideas rather than individuals. And let's keep our thoughts about someone's character and intent either to ourselves or to some other forum. We'd like for this meeting to remain organized and accessible to everyone, so speakers will be recognized by the mayor before speaking. And if you have several questions, please ask them all together. And finally, we want the council to be able to complete the public's business in an orderly way. So the rules of procedure in the agenda packet will guide the meeting and may be applied as needed to keep the meeting moving and ensure everyone has a fair opportunity to participate. Thank you, everyone, for helping us create a meeting where everyone can be heard and the community's business can be conducted respectfully and effectively. Now, before we jump to the agenda, I'd just like to say this is my first time here doing this. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me the opportunity and the honor to sit in the seat and do this work. I'd just like to say a brief word about how I view my role as mayor. First, you, the council, are the ones that you're the body that governs the city. You're the ones who make the motions, you're the ones who cast the votes and ultimately decide the direction of Montpelier. Each of you represents the people of this community, and by now most of you have been doing this for a few years. I'm new to the seat, and I have a great deal of respect and gratitude for the experience and commitment to community that I see from everyone in this room. And your role is one of service to your districts. My role is one of service to you, to the council. And I intend to help the group make the best possible use of our limited time together. And that means helping keep our conversations focused and helping us move steadily forward to the decisions that can only be made by this body. Practically speaking, what I'll try to do is name what we're trying to accomplish with each agenda item and which part of the process that we're in, to reflect back what I'm hearing from the councilors and the public, and to remind everybody where we've been in a conversation and where we may be headed next. The goal is not to control the conversation, but to support it and to make it easier for the council to do its work clearly and efficiently. I also want to acknowledge that I'm learning as I go. I have been told once upon a time that if you want to endear yourself to people, you say something vulnerable. So here it is. I'm very nervous. I have butterflies, and I hope I don't disappoint. I promise I will bring my best to this work, and I may not always get the balance exactly right. So I'm asking council and the public to have a little patience with me, a little bit of grace as I grow into the role. And finally, Montpelier is very fortunate. We have a dedicated public who engage with the work of the council and remind us of our community's priorities. We have a staff of dedicated professionals who are experts in their fields and who care deeply about the quality of their work and about its impact on all of our lives. And we have a group of counselors who care deeply about this community and who are willing to put in the time and the effort that this work requires. And my goal is to support that work as well as I can. Today, we're going to level set with a lot of sort of restatement of where we are. And with all of this, we should be looking for opportunities where appropriate to question what do we want to preserve and what, if anything, do we want to change? We're not looking to make changes tonight, but that question should always be available to us. And so one of the things I'd like to do today and going forward is to just start us with an offering to center us and bring us all fully into the space, bring our attention here to the work that we're about to do tonight. So, channeling my friend Ricarda, if you would, it's helpful to have both of your feet on the floor. If we could all take a breath, I'm just going to read a passage from Ben Franklin, a poem from Robert Frost, and the end of a poem by Amanda Gorman. And I think together they will help to bring us into the room. For my own part, when I am employed in serving others, I do not look upon myself as conferring favors, but as paying debts. The pasture. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear. I shan't be gone long. You come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young. It totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long. You come too. For there is always light if we're only brave enough to see it, if we're only brave enough to be it. Thank you, everybody, for indulging me. I realize I already made the meeting about 6 minutes longer than it had to be. I'll make it. Thank you. So the first order of business is for us to approve the agenda. If there are no objections, and I see none, we'll unanimously consent to approve the agenda. Yes? Oh, I suppose we should swear me in.
Well, I need to swear everyone in.
Oh,
Don't I? Oh,
great.
that's right.
Let's do that.
Before we do any business. I'm glad you thought of that. Okay.
We're off to a great start.
That's embarrassing. Okay, one moment. I got to pull up the oath because I don't have it sitting in front of me because I forgot.
I know. Just check it on my computer.
Give me 1 second.
I know, it won't like let me go on the video and the whole thing is just so, anyway, you won't see me on the. Right. Hi.
Everyone at home, this is Adrian Gill.
Okay.
Point of order, do we need to amend the agenda before?
It wouldn't hurt since it wasn't on the agenda. First order of business well, actually, we need to swear people in before we get to any business. We can't do that. So let me get everyone sworn in. We'll start with the 3 newly elected city councilors. You all would stand up. A reminder that there are 2 oaths. So because Vermont doesn't trust you, just I'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont and that you will not directly or indirectly do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution or government thereof, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the office of council member for the city of Montpelier and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons to the best of your judgment and ability according to law, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury? I need to get the written versions at some point from you all. You are legal. I don't need that. Sir?
Sir?
Right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont and that you will not directly or indirectly do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution or government thereof, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I absolutely will.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the office of mayor for the city of Montpelier and will bear and do equal right and justice to all persons to the best of your judgment and ability according to the law, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. Now that we're able to do so, the first item would be to approve the agenda, but I think we want to add an item before we approve it. Is that correct?
I think Kalen's gonna do her item
During general business. Okay. Then if there are no objections, seeing none, the agenda is approved. We'll move on to item 4, general business and appearances. At this time, we would welcome any member of the public or council to speak. Would we have minutes? Is that correct? Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Hughes, welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council and Kelly, city manager, staff. I would like to extend a welcome to the mayor and our new city manager. I will get you that email. I have an update for you in regards to the street outreach item. And I am from Montpelier, Zach Hughes, and I come here tonight with renewed energy, and I understand we'll be talking about a few things with the homelessness committee, but I'm not talking about that right now. I want to let folks know that it could be in the same vein when we talk about homelessness committee, but we are going to start seeing people come out and they are going to be camping. They're going to be, there's going to be issues. It's just the way this is going to be. They're homeless folks, and we're going to have to come together and keep working together to address these issues. And I just want to reiterate that it would be my hope that we treat these folks like they live here. I don't want to really see a repeat of what I saw last year when we were informed by a couple of folks that folks were told to get out of the city. I treat these folks like they live here. Citizens may have a different view, but they also pay a form of taxes every time they go into the gas station here to get whatever they need. I want to point that out. And I think it's really important that we continue to work together. We use those energies that the mayor just used. I like that Ben Franklin thing. Might try that at a meeting. But I am renewed with energy, and I'm very happy to be here tonight to work together with everybody. And I enjoy living here in this city that I have called home since 1991. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I yield. Zach Hughes out.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes, and thank you for your service on the committee. Is there anyone else here in the room who would like to speak? Mr. Whitaker, welcome.
Good evening, Steve Whitaker, Montpelier. I want to speak directly to the new city manager and the new mayor because Montpelier is already facing, as well as heading towards, a serious breakdown of public trust. And Country Club Road is becoming the example people point to when they say the system's no longer working. People increasingly feel that speaking up, serving on committees, or even running for office no longer matters. Decisions appear to be made before the public process begins, and the public process becomes a formality or even a charade. That perception is corrosive, and it's spreading. Country Club Road is our one major opportunity as a city to plan thoughtfully for affordable housing, really affordable housing, not subsidized, but affordable to the people who live and work here. Infrastructure and modest infrastructure and economic sustainability. Instead of starting with a community master plan and a full brownfield delineation, the city appears to be moving towards selecting a developer and negotiating agreements first, before the public's even had an opportunity to shape what should go there. The master planning process that was promised with the community was effectively pulled off the table. That's not a small procedural issue. That's a moment when the public's statutory opportunity to shape the future of the land was removed. Instead, developers are now proposing projects backed by private equity that rely heavily on complicated financing structures, federal tax cuts, private equity, and other subsidy mechanisms. We've seen how those models can work in practice. They often produce housing that's technically affordable for a short compliance period, but they can also produce projects that are financially engineered for investors rather than designed for long-term needs of the community. Montpelier already faces a serious housing problem. The people who work here often cannot afford to live here. Country Club Road is the one large site where we could address that challenge responsibly. If we allow the process to be driven primarily by development proposals and consultants rather than by the public master plan, we risk losing that opportunity. There are also serious regulatory questions that deserve careful attention. The infrastructure proposal tied to Route 2 appears to implicate Act 250 review, traffic impacts, protection of prime ag soils, and yet staff is telling the regional commission and telling the project review committee that no, we're not going to apply for Act 250. We don't need to. We can get around it, making stuff up. Yet different descriptions of the project seem to be appearing in different funding applications, federal transportation grants, CDBG-DR funds, and Northern Border Regional Commission. Those programs all have strict federal rules regarding procurement, transparency, and environmental review. I get much better traction with the feds than I do with this council on those issues. When the city presents inconsistent descriptions of a project across multiple funding programs, it creates risk, not just regulatory risk, but reputational risk for Montpelier. None of this should be happening in a rushed or opaque way. It requires careful planning, transparency, and genuine public participation. I urge the council and the new city manager to pause and reflect on the direction this process has taken. Restoring public trust will require more than simply moving forward with the current artificial timeline. It'll require demonstrating that the public's role in shaping this project actually matters. Country Club Road should be an opportunity for Montpelier to plan well for the next 50 years. Right now, many people fear it's becoming an example of how not to do that.
Mr. Whitaker, thank you very much for your comments. You bring up a lot of good points. I'd like to remind everyone that tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the high school cafeteria, there's an opportunity for the public to weigh in and share their thoughts about the proposals that are currently being considered. Would anyone else like to say anything here in the room? Councilor Alfano, I see you have your hand raised on Zoom. Was that okay. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to say anything? Councilor Cohn, did you have something? Yes, please.
Yeah, I just want to make a statement. As we approach Neurodiversity Celebration Week, observed internationally between March 16 and 22nd, I would like to this council to recognize neurodiversity as an important part of our broader commitment to equity, accessibility, and community well-being. Neurodivergent residents, including individuals living with autism, ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, and other neurological differences are part of every aspect of our city. They attend our schools, work in our businesses, serve in our institutions, and participate in our civic life. Yet many face barriers that are not immediately visible, sensory challenges in public spaces, stigma around mental health conditions like OCD, difficulty navigating systems that were not designed with neurological differences in mind. Recognition matters, but leadership requires more than recognition. As a city, we can take practical steps, such as ensure public meetings and city communications are accessible and sensory aware, provide staff training to better understand and respectfully interact with neurodivergent residents, support partnership with schools, mental health providers, and community organizations, Review policies and facilities through an accessibility lens that includes neurological differences, not only physical disabilities. An inclusive city is not defined solely by infrastructure. It is defined by whether residents feel understood, supported, and able to participate fully in civic life. I hope we can use the upcoming week not only as a symbolic acknowledgement, their March 16 and 22nd, International Neurodiversity Celebration Week, but as a catalyst for thoughtful and measurable progress. Thank you for letting me do this thing. Thanks.
Councillor Cohn, thank you very much for that statement. Thank you very much for always bringing to light the needs and the perspectives of those who don't have a seat at the table every time. Thank you very much. Would anyone else in the room, councillors, anyone like to say anything for general business and appearances before we move forward? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward to item 5, the Women's History Month resolution. Some language has been drafted. Has it been circulated, Kelly? Okay.
Okay. Can I take that?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So at your new mayor's interest, he suggested that we bring forward a resolution honoring Women's History Month, which is March. And so internally, we crafted some language with thanks to Evelyn, who's our communications coordinator, and circulated it to a handful of women on council for input. After receiving feedback about the language of that, as well as how you ordinarily handle these things, which I'm learning as I go, so thank you for your patience. A draft was emailed to you all this afternoon, and I realize that is late for consideration tonight. It is a draft, and then I understand that typically you would discuss your interest in supporting such a resolution in advance of taking that action at the next meeting, which will still be in 15 months. So I will turn it back to the mayor to see if there's interest in doing that, additional input or discussion. And of course, we still have time to make edits to the language. And I would just ask individuals to send those individual edits to Evelyn and I directly, and not to all of you.
So I think, oh, Councillor Cohn.
So thank you for bringing this up. I think it's a great idea and very symbolic way of saying that our city really gives importance all the things happening around us. I was gonna ask if you can send our recommendation all council so they can see. We don't have to discuss, but because I wanna make a couple of recommendations. I just read it very late before the meeting, so I did some research. We might need to add a couple of the things, like I think Gary mentioned, like equal pay, like other things, if it is okay. So I don't know how we want to do this, like discuss now, and we can talk about our recommendations. Or...
If I could propose, perhaps we read the draft as it stands now. We'll accept comments and suggestions through Evelyn and Kelly through the course of the next 2 weeks, and come up with language that we could formally adopt at our next meeting. Or I suppose I would say I would entertain a motion to do something like that. Is there anyone who'd like to volunteer to read it out loud? If there are none, I'll do it. Adrian? Councilor Gill.
So it'll be my first time.
A cold reading.
Yes, I haven't had a chance, so I will read it and absorb it at the same time. I got it on my computer's working, but thank you for offering that. Okay, so resolution honoring Women's History Month 2026. Whereas the city of Montpelier, Vermont recognizes the values, the contributions women have made to our city throughout its history, and whereas the city's history of elective leadership is distinguished by the significant contributions of Mayors Sally Rice, Ann Cummings, Mayor Hooper, and Ann Watson, who collectively guided Montpelier for 22 of the last 40 years. And whereas this tradition of service extended beyond the city limits, with 3 of these leaders transitioning to represent our community in the Vermont House of Representatives and the State Senate. And whereas the city of Montpelier's executive leadership has been defined by the dedicated service of women, including the current city manager, recent acting city manager Kelly Murphy, and all 5 assistant city managers. And whereas women currently comprise half of the Montpelier City Council, providing policy leadership, professional experience, and strategic guidance to all city initiatives. And whereas the educational leadership of the Montpelier-Roxbury Public School District, MRPS, reflects a commitment to organizational excellence, with women currently serving as a superintendent, the school board chair, and as 2 of the district's 3 principals. And whereas several notable and longstanding organizations based in Montpelier have women serving in their top leadership positions, including the Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, and the Vice President and General Counsel of Union Mutual Insurance, the Executive Director of Montpelier Alive, the T.W. Wood Gallery, and the Center for Arts and Learning. And whereas women-owned businesses constitute the majority of our downtown core, providing the essential economic vitality, jobs, and unique character that sustain Montpelier as a premier destination for commerce and community life. And whereas we recognize and acknowledge that official leadership is not the only way women lead us, we honor the countless women whose quiet advocacy, community service, and civic engagement have historically driven progress in our city and continue to shape Montpelier's character today. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the City Council, do hereby express our profound gratitude and admiration for the extraordinary contributions of women to the civic, educational, and economic life of our community, and have officially proclaimed March as Women's History Month in the city of Montpelier.
Thank you, Councilor Gill. That was very well read.
Oh, good.
So I would entertain a motion that we add this to the next agenda item and accept edits and comments. Councilor Brown.
Yeah, just before we go on to moving on to our next steps, I just wanted to say, I think this is great that we're doing this. I hope that we'll be able to pass it at our next meeting. And I wanted to offer up an opportunity for everyone to consider, and we can discuss it more at the next meeting if there's interest. In my day job, I work for the state agency with the Vermont Commission on Women. We have a program called the Equal Pay Compact, which is a program that allows employers to sign a pledge for pay equity. That says it's a very easy lift, very, very easy. Basically says we support equal pay, we support pay equity, and here's something we're going to do in order to demonstrate that commitment. And so it could be very small, it could be very big. I can provide lots and lots of suggestions for ideas of things that we could do. But I would love us to consider this as a way to not just kind of say, women are great, which we are, but also to say that the city is committed to making sure that we have pay equity, because it's only so worthwhile if we have a lot of women in leadership positions or a lot of women doing all this great work if we don't have pay equity. So that's something I will provide more information to everyone on the council about that. And if there's interest, we'd love to bring it up at the next meeting for consideration.
Councilors, is there generally interest in this? Councilor Cohn, you have something to say?
So I don't know if it's good or bad half of the council. As human beings, we have such a strong feelings about it. I totally agree with that, because it would be great if we can do something very concrete, like we are promising doing that. Oh my God. So I also want to add State Act, since we are talking about this. And I don't know if city clerk has anything, because I know that Secretary of State and Attorney General office, which both are women, working very hard about that. And with SAVE Act, more than 69 million American women do not have birth certificate that matches their current legal name, because many change their name after marriage. They might not to vote in this upcoming election. So like Carrie mentioned, like there are so many things if we can, it doesn't have to be like 100-page resolution, but something shows that we are very serious about it. And again, it's a great idea to start the discussion. I really appreciate that. So I support Carrie's idea 100%. And also I will send my recommendation, including this kind of thing.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Thank you, Councilor Khan. Well, I would entertain a motion that do we even need to make a decision? We're going to put it on the next agenda item and we do.
No, it sounds like you're not taking action.
We're not taking action tonight, so we will revisit this in 2 weeks. Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the next agenda item, the consent agenda. Just checking in, is 7 o'clock pretty late to be getting to the consent agenda? I think it is, right? No? All right. Not that it matters. We are where we are, right? Okay, so, yeah, great. So the next item is the consent agenda. Are there any comments or objections to the consent agenda?
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Okay, all in favor, please say, is there any discussion about the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Yes, please,
Look,
Mr.
folks,
Oaks.
in the front of the book, there's something else that's not on the list to sign. It's because you approved it last meeting and it didn't get here. So that's what you'll spot it. I just wanted to explain that that's something that was previously passed.
Sir, what are you referring to?
Oh, what is it? It's something from Mike that you all approved for regarding adopt this resolution. It's this. What is it? Amended resolution for municipal planning grant. And then there's also a municipal resolution just to be signed by the mayor regarding NDRC funding. I don't know what that is. So hope it sounds good. Sounds important. But it was passed. Northern borders.
This is something that was passed in a previous meeting.
Yes, the last meeting, and it just didn't make the rounds.
And that's the mayor.
That's the mayor, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you saying is that it was adopted at a previous meeting. It's just that the signatures didn't get placed. So we'll make up for that today.
Right on.
Okay. Great, then, yes.
Clarification on that. Should, Jack was the mayor when that was approved, should the council president sign?
Mike seemed to think that from the wording of what was expected, that since it was an act of the legislative body, the current chair can sign that, affirming that he didn't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yeah. All right, then the consent agenda is passed. We're going to move on to items 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all related with each other. They all revolve around the homelessness committee and getting some legal guidance about the encampment policy. So we'll start with number 7, the homelessness committee membership amendment. Ms. McNicholas.
So there are several items here that were forwarded for homelessness, from the homelessness committee.
Councilor Sheridan, would you like to say something before we move on?
Sure, seeing how I asked for these things to be on. We have obviously had a lot of problems having a quorum. And we can't seem to get 5 ever. In fact, we have trouble sometimes getting 4. So what I have suggested is reduce the 9 to 7 and add 2 alternates. And if we ever get a lot of people who want to come on, we can revisit this again, but we're not able to approve minutes. We're not able to take votes. We're not able really to do anything. So I'm requesting that we approve this to 7 regular voting members, 2 alternates, so that maybe we can start feeling like we're a real committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Back to you, Manager Curry.
Thank you, Counselor. I do want to clarify, we had conflicting information in your packet, and so I just want to make sure that the resolution properly reflects what the committee has designed. When I believe I spoke with staff and Jim and Gary, the request is for the quorum to be 4 out of 7. Matt's memo said 5. I wrote 4 in the cover sheet. And so before you take any action, I want to clarify exactly which number you would like the quorum to be.
4.
All right, let me see if I, oh, yes, Counselor Papano.
I will move to approve the amendments to the membership and quorum of the homeless committee as follows. Change the number of members to 7 plus 2 alternates with a quorum of 4 to conduct business.
Thank you both. Is there any discussion about this? All right, then just to restate what it is that we're about to vote on, we're voting to change the homelessness committee size from 9 down to 7 plus 2 alternates, which will allow a quorum of 4 to be able to move the business forward. Does everybody understand?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your work on the committee, Councilor Chair. We're moving now on to item number 8, which is a charge amendment. I believe there was a desire for some greater clarity. Manager Curry, would you like to say something about that?
Sure, and I can turn it over to Counselor Brown, because she forwarded the language to staff.
Thank you. A while back, we started a whole gigantic conversation about committees and how they would run and what the structure would be. And one of the things we talked about was that each committee that the city council creates should have a charge that comes from the city council. So it's very clear that the city council has created this committee in order to do whatever it is. And so as one of the liaisons to the homelessness committee, I have been trying to get us to kind of think about what that might be. And we've gone back and forth with it a couple of times. We've had discussions on the homelessness committee. We've looked at the prior description of what the committee was doing, and we've kind of tightened it up a little bit. And so this is what we have to present to you for a proposed charge coming from the city council. Doesn't represent anything dramatically different from what the homelessness committee has been doing. One of the things that is different is that previously in there, they were charged with collecting a whole lot and reporting on a whole lot of data, which I don't think is very useful to us at this point. What we need are recommendations for action. And what we need are is information about what's actually happening with people who are experiencing homelessness in Montpelier and how the city can respond and what we can do. So that's what this charge is trying to reflect.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes, do you have anything to add?
Just a couple of things, Mr. Mayor. One is we have definitely tightened up that charge, and we've acknowledged that we want council to kind of obviously guide us in that charge a little bit. And it was helpful for Carrie to kind of help us get to that point, and we did that. And the other thing I want to acknowledge, part of the reason, I know we just passed this, but you know, part of the reason we weren't able to get quorum or probably anyone serving is because of our time. We changed the time recently to help hopefully get more interest in service. It just was a bad time for certain folks, including a couple perspectives. So, and I'm feeling like that we are actually getting some stuff done. You'll find out that about in the camping part, that we are actually looking at stuff, and it's very helpful to have Matt there for staff, very helpful for that. So I just want to say we are here to serve at your pleasure, and we will continue to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarity, Matt Jelasik, the staff.
That's correct.
Thank you. Councilor Gill.
Yeah, so thank you for putting this together. It's nice to be able to respond to a charge. And so I know we're gonna talk about this later, but this just constantly brings up like what, when, how, right, for me. So you have a charge, and I think it's pretty generic enough that you can fit, an action plan into this, but I do, when you talk about like consult with people and organizations with lived experience, I don't know, I just want a little bit more detail. Like, who are those people? Like, who are you going to consult with? What organizations are you going to target? Because, we're going to be coming up on a really tough spring and summer. And, I hope that you all come back with a plan, after we approve this charge, because what is it that you're going to do to develop these short-term solutions? And I just want to be very clear about when is that going to happen? When are you going to come back and share with us your plan for the next 3, 6, 9 months, so that the council can say, that's great, that's, maybe we're not on the same page? Because what's happened in the past was we have these charges, committees go off and do all this work, and they come back and we're like, oh my gosh, that's totally not in line with at all with what we were thinking. And it really frustrates people. And I think that's why people don't join these committees. So I just want to get a little bit more clarification on what that may look like.
So Mr. Hughes, Councilor Scherer, or Councilor Brown, can you speak to that?
Go ahead, Greg. I need to do that. I'm gonna try my best here. I believe that we have a positive buoyancy now. Unfortunately, in the past, we didn't feel that buoyancy, and we weren't followed up on like we're about to be now. I know this council will ask what we're doing. The past council did not do that, and I'm not gonna blame them, because things happen. But we will take this really seriously. I think when we talk about consulting organizations, I wouldn't, I'm picturing the idea of bringing people into the committee to talk and, stuff like that, more creative stuff than, what we're doing. We were asked originally to give you guys a report in 3 months when we first started this thing out. We're now a committee. And so, but that brings a lot more charge to it. And I know we can do a plan, whether it's we come back in a quarter or whatever for you. We can do it. I'm feeling that emphasis. The specific thing we've been working on right now is the camping thing, because we know that the spring is coming up. And in fact, people are starting to come out. So I think it's really important that we stay on, this course. I appreciate you, Adrian, for bringing Councilor Gill for bringing this up and keeping us on that charge. I want to hear council say, where are you? So that we stay on that and we don't get lost. I think we can come up with that plan in a short amount of, time as far as where we want to go with this. I think I tried that. Go ahead, Chip.
Well, first of all, it's been a huge help having Matt come to our meetings, because we have a staff now that can do memos for us, look up stuff like that. And I mean, having him a part of this, there's a renewed sense on this committee that's come about in the last few months, and I felt it. And I think now that, we can maybe get a quorum and start doing some things. I think what Matt, what he is saying about, we want to really look at camping lands. So that's why one of the agenda items coming up is to ask a lawyer for some advice on how to move forward with this. But that's going to be probably a number one thing. We want to look at probably how do we want to handle toilets or trash or something like that. But I think with Matt there now, we got more kind of connection to the city, and he's very interested in this topic. So I think you're going to see some differences going forward.
If I could just say something else.
Go ahead.
Just briefly, I did want to say it was very helpful for this. Yeah, I don't think we were a committee back then when we brought in the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce to do that day, 2 hours, 3 hours together. Yes, I know. That was helpful because it gives us that information that we need to boost forward. And I remember telling you, letting you all know that we had gotten that information for y'all, and now we needed to actually go get our, make those friendship bracelets instead of just collecting the cash. That was my analogy back then, and I believe that I'm also trying to get somebody back on the committee who is actually in that, what is that called? That program in Barry that Barry was doing, situation table. Thank you very much. We would have someone from over there. I'm trying to tie that into the committee because we have no one on the committee who's doing that right now. Thank you.
That's a go.
Just throw out a suggestion when
Yeah.
you're thinking about your planning.
Sure.
I talked to a lot of families in town, and last year there was a lot of conversation around the bike path and
Mhm.
safety issues and how children, parents didn't want their children walking along the bike path. And I mean, it was a whole big topic.
Yeah.
And so I did talk to the schools, and in the past, they did have a program where they, there's a couple, you can do some research, but I would
Yeah.
offer to partner with the schools and figure out a way to either visit the schools and talk to some of the teachers, maybe talk to some of the students, bring them into the fold, because they're a part of this community too. And I think if we can all figure out how to live in harmony with each other and know that, everyone is a person, and how to respect each other and have those social and cultural norms, I think that's a very important part of this complex puzzle. And I would strongly encourage you to reach out to the school district. There's some, and I can give you some recommendations to some of the key players in the schools that could potentially help take a lead on this.
Okay.
But I would strongly encourage you all to think about including that as part of your plan.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Yeah, I want to thank Councilor Gill for bringing up the larger question about how we work with committees and how we charge them and what we ask them to do, because it's something that we started to do to define and we didn't really figure it out. So we can get a charge to the homelessness committee, but we still need to potentially say, here's what we would like to hear from the committee in these quarterly reports. And we need to do that for all of our committees. It's not just the homelessness committee.
Right.
This is something that's not being hasn't been finalized. And we did a lot of work on getting us close to that point, but we didn't quite finish it. So I don't know if this is something we want to talk about when we get to the committee assignments section. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just flagging it for that.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anyone else have questions or comments? So I think the question before us here and the purpose of this item is to adopt this language as the charge to be given to the homelessness committee. Do I understand that correctly? Does everybody share that understanding with me? Okay. I would entertain a motion to do that.
I move to approve the proposed language of the charge of the homelessness committee.
Is there a second? Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. So we'll be adopting that language as the charge. Thank you very much, Mr. Hughes, for your work. We're still talking about this though, and one of the next item is to appoint or to discuss the appointment of a new member to the committee. That person is yes, please.
So Lou Mallet has applied to join this committee. The information that was provided in their application is included in the cover memo. We Evelyn reached out and invited them to attend or be somehow available for you all tonight, and they were unavailable, but did provide an email address that we could follow up with additional questions, or if anyone wished to do individual outreach with this person, or if members of the committee have any additional information about email it that they wish to share. Maybe now is a good time to do that. We could consider this now. We could move it to the 25th to give some additional time to collect information.
I'm going to summarize my understanding of this. I don't believe any of the counselors has any direct knowledge or experience with this person. I've reached out to Mr. Hughes to see if he does. We haven't heard back yet. Before we discuss any person in a public meeting, I guess the question I would have is, if we're going to do so, do we need to go into executive session to protect this person's personal information? And if we're not ready to do so, can we use the next 2 weeks to gather more information, sort of discuss, and then come back to this in 2 weeks? Or does that not serve the purposes of the committee? Mr. Hughes, do you have input there?
A couple things. I also did reach out to this individual upon receiving a copy of the small part of the application that just had the email. I reached out to this person, invited them to a homelessness task force meeting with the date and all that. And also invited them to take part in the survey to see about time change so it wouldn't impact them or whatever. And my suggestion would be to put this down 2 weeks, would be my suggestion. This person isn't present, isn't available, doesn't feel comfortable to me as chair of this committee. However, we serve at your pleasure. Thank you.
I think the recommendation of the chair means a lot, but it sounds like we're going to table this decision until 2 weeks from now and use the intervening time to gather more information, right? Okay, great. Then no objection there. We're going to move on to item 10. Encampment legal advice. Sorry, sir. Yes.
Sorry,
Councilor Brown.
just one thing related to the last item. And again, this is, I think, just a flag maybe for our committee discussion, but we used to get the applications. We used to be able to see the applications from people who applied, and now we're just getting a few things that have been pulled from the application. And I don't think that's great. And I would love to be able to discuss that when we get to
Management of Councilors Curry. Is that something that that's a mouthful?
You can just
Curry, okay. Is that something we can address?
as far as when we discuss it at committee assignment.
About getting the full application to everyone. Yeah. Great.
I would just add that the homelessness committee can now consider a position as an alternate to the committee. If you wanted to see, if both parties wanted to see how it worked out.
Thank you. Great. All right, thank you, everyone. So back to item number 10, encampment legal advice. Manager Curry.
Sure. So Matt, as the liaison to the committee, presented a memo that included a lot of information, but essentially their request is for council to direct me to, as the city manager, to seek legal guidance and a legal memo addressing questions of the homelessness committee involving city liability that we may be incurring by allowing either expressly or in a de facto manner camping on city properties. The memo to me wasn't fully clear, so when I followed up in conversation for some additional info, some of the concern is, for example, if there is a violent crime that occurs on city property, does the city have liability related to that? If someone's private property gets damaged while on city property, does the city have any liability for that? And so I'm happy to pursue this. We have some access to some free legal resources through the league, which is where I would start. Since I'm sure this isn't a question only relevant for Montpelier, but I look for your direction on that.
I have question for the room, being the new person. Is this something that really requires a council decision, or is this something that the city manager in her discretion can seek legal advice about issues facing the city? Sure. Councilor Sheridan.
I think it probably would be nice if the council had a hand in directing this to the city manager so that she knows that the council is behind because it's going to be an expense. So.
Councilor Brown, did you have a hand up?
I would just basically agree with that, but I think that the city manager can consult her attorney for legal advice when she wants to or needs to on her own discretion. And this seems like a case where a committee has come to us and said, we need more information about this. And so we're bringing it to city council so it can be a little bit more, out in the open and clear about what we're asking for.
Councilor Sheridan, are you saying the same thing?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, if we want to make a motion to it, I'm fine with that too, so that she knows that the council is behind it.
Okay.
But
Councilor Cohn and Gil, I think actually everybody twitched a little bit when I asked the question. So, Councilor Cohn, did you have something to add or ask? Okay.
I would just like to repeat the same.
Okay, great. Councilor Alfano.
I will move that the council direct city manager to obtain legal advice regarding the city's encampment, camping policies and or ordinances.
Great. Okay, and second, is there any discussion? Councilor Cohn. It's hard to see sometimes. Yeah.
Stay with me. So I mentioned this to Kelly before. So we decided to go back and check our camping policy, and we gave like a 6-month deadline. And I think we are really moved that deadline. So I just want to ask if we are asking legal advice, but we haven't done any revision, how it will work, because that was a task given to the former acting city manager long time ago. So just a question.
Councilor
If I
Alfano.
could, I actually think, I appreciate that. I think the policy has some issues. It has some contradictions. It has some actual procedural confusion, I think. So I actually think it would benefit from a legal review before we, so that the legal issues are identified, and then maybe some of the procedural issues as well, because I think that's where we get into legal trouble or could get into legal trouble. So I think seeking legal advice first, and then, but then when we do it, we ought to actually revise it. It's been at least 6 months, I think, since we were supposed to be doing it. Yeah, supposed to have that.
Like 6 months that we talked about like last year. No.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So that's what I was saying, like, because we will ask a legal advice and we pay for it. So then they say something about, then we come back, change it, then their advice won't be meaningful if we change things. But I'm okay to go and ask legal advice now. But I just want to remind that we agreed to revise our camping policy, and we shouldn't be forgetting about it. Thank you.
Just to catch the new folks in the room up, I think what I'm hearing is that there was a 6-month window to do some revision that started well over 6 months ago. And there's some concern that we're now throwing away some previous work or other advice, and that but I think what I'm also hearing is that we have a need to get some clarity now so that we can complete that work that was started some long time ago. And so we're all in agreement that we do want to move forward in this way. Am I understanding that right? I'm not. Oh, it hasn't started. Should have started.
Should have started.
Okay.
The revision work.
Okay. It's a good example of however we got here, we still have an important task ahead of us that needs to be done. Councilor Brown, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm basically just kind of going to echo what Councilor Cohn has said. We do need to get this legal advice as part of this process. I don't think anything was really done And also, it's not a matter of throwing out work that's already been done. I would love to be part of this, and so whoever's in charge of making us move on to the next thing, I would love to volunteer my service for that. And also want to say that I think the motion is fine the way it is, and it's broad, and I think it's broad enough to include talking with the homelessness committee, talking with economic development committee, who's also been discussing camping, talking with whoever else to get a sense of additional questions that you may want to ask about camping, other than just looking at our existing policy. But are there other things to consider when we're talking about just camping on city property?
And then Councilor Dolio, you also twitched, but I haven't.
No, actually, I'm really glad that we're voting on this motion. I think it's right to provide like the added emphasis that the council wants to see, like legal questions around this resolved. But I would just say in general, I maybe it's already been said, but I believe that the city manager should always be able to go for legal advice without having to come to council. But I understand why we're doing it here and I agree with it.
Okay. Yes, Manager Curry.
Yeah, just take an opportunity to, I think, reflect what I think I'm hearing, because there's a narrow request here relative to your resolution, and there's a larger work task to follow up on direction you have previously given. This policy has been in place since July 2024, I think is the correct date. You had a request to have some assessment of how it was working, is what I'm guessing. I'll go back and look at the record and collect the questions that you all posed at that time. I'm happy to take the steps to start that review and also do outreach to the relative, the various stakeholders engaged with managing this policy, concerned about the population, et cetera, to come back with additional review for you all to potentially consider for changes. That will all go through a lens of, can we do this legally before any recommendations come back to you. Okay. All right.
Great. So the motion before us is, Councilor Dole, would you like to restate it? It was your motion, right?
No.
Oh, it's not. I'm sorry.
I move to approve the direction of the city manager to obtain legal advice regarding the city's encampment and camping policy and ordinances.
Okay. And I believe it was already moved and seconded. There's no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it unanimously again. Thank you very much. By our count, I think we are at the halfway point of the agenda. However, the council orientation is next, and that one may take a moment. Manager Curry, would you like to take it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, John.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
I hope for this to be a very fun and engaging conversation for you all. And I'm going to share this.
They've all seen this movie before. This is
I
my
don't know that
first
we
time. It is. Yeah. So the Redux.
Go from having 3 screens in the office to I said oh, geez, you have in front of you the new council handbook. I'm going to try to share my screen so you're waiting for my prompt up here. We've made some changes since last year, where we took out some information that we thought was a bit duplicative in some ways. For example, anything related to kind of our city departments and updates from city departments was all just published in the annual report in the last month, and we thought did a much better updated job. And so rather than replicating that here, we took it out. Okay. Okay, there are a number of slides. I promise I will move through them quickly. I think in the past this has taken you all about an hour, and I promise not to go over that. So like we're not new here. And except for Mark and I, who are new here, I'm not repeating what you've seen in the past, and I am trying to focus us on some topics that I think will provide additional detail for the work that you all are charged with doing. And so I have a little quote up here from Albert Schweitzer, who I think was a lovely man. I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. And so I want to congratulate you all for taking this bold step to represent your communities, for those of you who ran again, for Mark who's here for the first time, and then the important work that we'll all do together. This is our agenda that I proposed. We'll go over some governance about what you are all charged with what the various staff roles are charged with how we work together. We'll do some review of our ethical codes. We'll do some review of open meetings laws. We'll do some review of public records law. You will all need to adopt your council rules of procedure. I won't spend a lot of time on those. We'll turn it over for a brief primer from John on Robert's rules. And we'll just have a reminder about your council norms that you have adopted together. So instead of this being a real fly high that you all have experienced several years in a row in the past, we're going to dive just a little bit deeper into some of the things that shape your work.
May I say something before we continue?
Yeah.
Just two small things. One is not about business at all, but in front of everyone, there are bags of candy. You may need some energy. Please help yourself. Steve, there's some on the public table there too. And then as we go through this, again, I'd like to say that what we're interested in doing here mostly is to level set where we are, and also just always be available to ask the question, perhaps tonight quietly, for the future. What is important to preserve, and what, if anything, is worth revisiting, perhaps to make a change in the future? Not that we need to do that, but that is a question we should always be willing to ask ourselves. So I'll turn it back over to you. We're not making any of those changes tonight. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, and I do think there are some opportunities. So as you interact with this manual, please send any suggestions to Evelyn and I. We would love to have continuous improvement on these materials between now and next year. So your governance, sorry. So you are a Dillon's rule. Vermont is a Dillon's rule state, which means that all of your authorities derive from the state government and constitution. One of those is the ability to adopt a city charter. We're going to do a brief review of the charter. Within that charter, Montpelier has adopted a council manager form of government. You all, the 7 of you together, constitute the legislative body. Your authorities come from your body as a whole once 4 of you as a quorum have taken an action. And you appoint the city manager, treasurer, attorneys, boards, and committee members. And I am your chief administrative officer as your city manager. Now I pulled some of these next words, which are slowly popping up, directly from the preamble and epilogue in your city charter. And I think that these are a really grounding for what that document is. To use the words of the 1955 Charter Revision Committee, it is a publication to assist the citizens of Montpelier to govern them intelligently and effectively. Montpelier was given authorities as a municipality dating back in 1781, I believe, and your most recent charter change was in 2014. Vermont is not a home rule jurisdiction, and as such, every municipal power, authority, and prerogative must be conferred on the municipality by explicit grant of the General Assembly. The legislative responsibility is embedded in the Vermont Constitution, and accordingly, the importance of clear legislative grants and municipal charters cannot be overstated. So these are a list of your subchapters. I don't know when the last time anyone has interacted with the charter, but this will be a little bit of a refresher. So as you think, what can we do, or where might I find this information? This is how it is organized to go look. I will dive a little bit into a few of these, but not into all of these. It goes on, you have 15 subchapters in total. The ones that were repealed were noted as being repealed. So if you want to know which boards and commissions are required in the charter, you would go look in subchapter 8. And we'll just pull up that list real quick for you. Anything up here? There we go. So these, sorry, there's a lag. We're going back to subchapter 8 eventually. I'll read that. So in your boards and commissions that are in your charter include the Greenmount Cemetery Commission, the Parks Commission, the Board of Civil Authority, your Board for Abatement of Taxes, the Planning Commission, the Development Review Board, Recreation and Governance is called out, and then your authority over additional boards and commissions that you can appoint for policy matters. It also defines your provisions for appointing youth, which must be enrolled in a secondary school. In subchapter 9, administration. So these are the things that you have to do essentially. The annual city budget, your action on the budget, the officers that you can appoint, which I've listed before. It talks about the election and tenure of the city clerk, which is independent, the appointment of the city treasurer, personnel administration and benefits, which essentially confers to the city manager the ability to create these policies, the requirement to publish an annual city report within 10 days of town meeting day, and any officers' bonds that the council may require, and it has some boundaries around that. I've peppered this with cartoons, which I hope entertain you. And the reason I threw this one in there is because when there is a charter update, not only does council and the voters need to approve it, but it goes to the legislature for their approval as well. The independent authorities related to city government include these listed here, which we've talked about, and those which are called out for appointment by the city manager, which is the assessor, the fire chief, the police chief, the health officer, and the zoning administrator. These are key documents. There are undoubtedly more than are on this list, especially as we move forward on your strategic plans. Some of these come off and some of these get added on, but these are, I know, very helpful for me to get a sense of all the policy direction that this body has adopted. Any questions about this? I think it's much shorter than you heard in the past. Ethics for lawmakers, which is all of you. So in your manual, there is the City of Montpelier ethics policy. There's also the State of Vermont ethics policy, but I've just listed this one here. It's short. I suggest you familiarize yourself with it, but this really summarizes what it tells you to do, which is to recuse from official action if you have a conflict of interest. That conflict of interest can be defined as a direct or indirect financial benefit to you or to someone in direct family, or if there is an appearance of a conflict. It asks you to clearly state if you are able to fairly and objectively take action in the public interest. Should you have a conflict of interest, or if one of your colleagues thinks that you might have a conflict of interest, you can disclose this publicly at council meetings prior to taking action on the item. You may decide to recuse yourself entirely from deliberation on the item. You would inform the public body and members of the public of the nature of any discussions you may have had on items that are coming to council for vote. This is particularly important for quasi-judicial things, so a development application. If you have been approached to discuss or provide guidance or get hired for services related to an application, you would want to disclose that prior to the application being submitted. And then if your fellow counselors think you have a conflict of interest, they could vote to disqualify you by majority vote. When there is an imminent threat or peril to public health, safety, or welfare, this can be waived so long as the action is taken after the individual counselor has disclosed their potential conflict of interest. Now, city managers also have ethics policies that I wanted to share with you. And I'd say here it might be true for the Supreme Court that does not have an enforcement mechanism, but there are mechanisms to enforce on your management. Which is that I serve at the pleasure of the council and also can be censured by the professional association. We don't have to spend a lot of time running through this, but I will just say that the themes here are to treat everyone with transparency, neutrality, and even access, to remain outside of political efforts and actions happening, and to provide information with all of you evenly and fairly, and to provide information to other managers of other jurisdictions if electeds are reaching out to them or one of our tenants as well. And of course, to serve the best interests of the community and treat everyone fairly in personal, private, and professional life. This is also city council and staff working together. Are we talking about roles or roles? So I can appreciate my cheesy humor.
You'd have me right up until this slide.
All right. Mayor and city councilor, your role is to hold the powers of the city unless otherwise provided for in the law or the charter, and you must fulfill all those legal duties of the city. Oversee the city's affairs and property not assigned to other specific officers. Acquire, manage, sell, lease, and control property within or outside the city limits that the city may own. Adopt, amend, or repeal ordinances that protect public health, safety, and welfare, including regulating improvements, nuisances, activities, licensing, and energy efficiency disclosures. This is spelled out in your charter, which is why it's so specific here. You additionally adopt personnel policies, authorize expenditures, support citizen participation, regulate street excavation and street use, and establish fees or charges for city services, permits, licenses, hearings, property use, and dog licenses. Thanks to John, our city clerk. The city manager, my role is to implement your policies and provide advice and information to council for your consideration. Act as chief administrative officer of the city, hire, fire, supervise, and manage staff, provide constituent services, address complaints, follow the ethical code I just presented, ensure we have capacity to provide public services, inform council on general affairs, and assist council with policy. So as we work together, what you can expect from staff. And again, this is also something that we present to you in your handbook, is the staff serves the city council. We are here to implement your policy direction, provide quality customer service, give everyone courteous and professional treatment, provide education and expertise for the items you are considering, be dedicated to continuous improvement. So they make mistakes, but we're going to learn and correct quickly and for better performance. Minimize surprises for council and provide information to all councils fairly, and all council members fairly and evenly. Sometimes we'll receive a request from one, and we'll provide all that information for the benefit of all of you. What we ask from you is that the city manager is your conduit to city staff and information and expertise. See us as partners in customer service, allow room for us to correct and improve, and solicit direction from council on staff analysis, which means if there's a heavy lift or a significant work item that you would like staff to undertake, that you ask, we bring that forward for support from fellow counselors before staff begins on that. I think that conversation on homelessness about follow-up process is a good example. If one of you came to me with that, I might say, can we go back to the council as a whole and see if there's full direction for staff to deliver that work product to you? And it just helps with clarity when we have a two-way street on conversation. This information from subchapter 3 is directly from the charter about how staff and council act together. Council's not authorized to fire anyone except me and any of your other direct appointments. And that, again, we just request that you work through the city manager when asking for support for your policy objective. You have seen this before. This was from Bill's slide. I thought this was really great on looking at kind of where, you know, when things are totally in council's purview and when they're moreover in staff's purview, and how that shifts as we get from the big picture down into the nitty-gritty day-to-day tasks. Any questions about the roles or discussion you wish to have?
That customer services in our charter, I thought it is like public service. Just asking if it's the technical term. I don't know, I'm kind of, in education, we use this too, and well, these are our students, not our customers, so is it like a new term we are using?
For what?
There were like provides for customer service. You can go back here and quality customer service, see us as partners in customer service.
Yeah, no, that isn't language from the charter. What it is just staff is asking that the council sees us as your partner in providing customer. So you're answering constituent requests and committing to service to them all the time, and we're your partner.
Yeah, so I was asking, again, I don't want to take my, so is that customer service, is there something in public administration field, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have water customers who have folks who come from special event
Okay.
permit.
Yeah.
You know, direct service provision to people. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Right, there's no additional questions. I'm going to give a review of open meetings law. Catch those up. Okay, a popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is but a prologue to a farce or a tragedy, or perhaps both. President James Madison, who was seen as one of the earliest advocates for open government and sunshine laws. And so this law applies, the statute is there, whenever a gathering of a quorum of the members of a public body for the purpose of discussing the business of the public body or for the purpose of taking action. And I will say thank you to the lead for this training, which I pulled all of this information. I've been here a minute and I'm not an expert in Vermont open meetings law, but I think it's a great refresher for all of us. When does open meetings law apply? So you can have electronic participation, you can have hybrid meetings. There are some requirements. And that is, you have to have a designated staffed physical location available for the public. Non-unanimous votes are taken by roll call. Members participating electronically must identify themselves at the beginning of the meeting and be able to hear and be heard throughout the meeting. This is specific specifically for advisory bodies. So I'll dive into that a little bit more, or non-advisory bodies, for bodies who vote on legislative policy. When does it not apply? Oh, this is little, sorry, I'll read it. When does it not apply? When you are communicating for the purpose, and communicating is verbal, in writing, over email, in person, for the purpose of scheduling a meeting, organizing an agenda, distributing information or materials to discuss at a later meeting, provided that no other board business is being conducted, and whatever is shared is made for inspection, copying under the Public Records Act. So if you share materials with each other, you cannot then begin to email each other with discussion of those materials that were shared with a quorum of 4.
Jess, can I ask a clarifying question and recognize that we might not have an answer right, but just if for example, if I were talking to a constituent who had a series of suggestions or comments related to a specific issue that I thought were really solid and just, or wouldn't even matter what my opinion on it was, right? Just got the information from the constituent, typed it up. Can I then send it to the full council being like, this is representative of a conversation I had with this person? And as long as it's not discussed among the council on email at that time, is that acceptable?
It is. It's better practice to send it to me and then I send it out to all of you.
Yeah.
I will say, like, where you get tricky is, oh yes, I had that same conversation and we should do X, Y,
Right,
Z.
if we then reply.
If you have
we a
replied,
problem.
yeah.
But if we just accept the information and acknowledge receiving it, I think we're cool.
Can we just edit like this email, because I don't know if anybody received or not. Then you don't reply. I understand the rule, but I don't know if people have read or I don't know. Is there any way to show us that, yeah, everybody read it? So, some people use like, oh, notify me if the email is, I hate that. Like, I really don't like that because it's really for like someone's controlling me. But I don't know, we can just like think about it. It is very important for me to have some kind of acknowledgement that my messages are
So
being
then
seen.
you could reply directly to you and then say, received it and I'll read it. You all shouldn't all do that to all of each other.
So maybe I'm doing this wrong, but when I have anything, I just type in L council. Like I don't send it to just the city manager for you to send out. I feel like that's an extra layer of bureaucracy, but is that wrong?
Not as long as you're only distributing information and no discussion input.
Okay,
Ensues.
so it's fine to still use L council, which is share. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said to email you.
I think it's better if you just email me, but per the reading of this,
I think what I'm hearing you say is that if we're all following the letter of this, then we will be fine. But because we can make mistakes, if we instead just send to Kelly, then she will help make sure that we don't accidentally step into an open meeting. Am I understanding your reading correctly?
I only want to be helpful.
You're on council. Get all that.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was surprised to find out that tomorrow's listening session is being warned as a regular meeting, a regular meeting of this, or a
Special meeting.
special meeting of this subcommittee. I'm surprised about it, and there's no action plan. We're actually going to avoid discussing anything, which is literally why I get put. I wonder why we did that.
I'll invite Evelyn to weigh in, but I do think it's best practice if you all are attending a functional meeting as opposed to a social gathering. We wouldn't necessarily say everyone is going to go join someone's 50th birthday party,
Yeah. But
you know. Well, it comes up, it
Yeah,
does, but that's all.
okay.
Evelyn, you want to-
Yeah, happy to weigh in. Evelyn Prim, Communications Coordinator. So we do that since we are expecting at least a quorum of the council members present. It's just a way for us to be safe, even though we're not taking any action. Just the fact that you're all together in a room could be viewed as an open meeting. So it just is super helpful to just, dot all our i's, cross all our t's. And so the only action that you will take is to call the meeting to order, have an opportunity for public comment because that's required in the law. And then after that, immediately following that, you'll say that the meeting will consist of the public listening session. No action is being taken. At 8 p.m. we will adjourn.
And we don't have we don't need a online link, or, I mean, how does that work?
There isn't you're not required, but there is a online portion just so people can watch the presentation from the consultant that's going to just go over the process. It will not be a hybrid meeting like this. People online will not be able to participate.
Okay.
Yes.
And I would just note when we get to the process of like a violation and how you cure a violation, that it would be really, really hard to cure a violation for an event like tomorrow night, which,
Yeah.
would have to be restaging the whole process again. And so this does cover.
Sorry to digress. So when we planned our meeting for tomorrow, I don't think the mayor has to book the meeting.
It's a special subcommittee
Okay,
meeting,
okay.
so it'd be the chair of the
So I was like,
subcommittee.
I don't think you built that into our plan. I was like, oh no.
Don't worry.
Okay, covered. All right. I don't want to mess with any rules. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Of course.
I'm scared.
Okay, some kind of bullet points. Your requirements. To meet the requirements of the open meetings law, you must provide advance notice of the meetings, create and post agendas, keep meetings open to the public, answer requests for access and provide access, provide reasonable opportunity for public comment, take and post minutes, record and post meetings, which is non-advisory bodies, which I should have defined earlier, but we'll define next, which is you all. You are an action body, or not an advisory. And then post a link to the language and complaint process on our website. And there's training requirements for certain individuals. So city council is a non-advisory body. All of your regular and special meetings must include a staffed physical location. You may continue to hold hybrid meetings. Emergency meetings and meetings held during a local incident may be remote only. Advisory bodies, these are your committees that you. Oh. I have so many more funny cartoons.
There you go. You're back.
Anyway, we could, so these, your advisory bodies may hold remote only regular, special, or emergency meetings by electronic and other means. Remote only meetings must designate and use an electronic platform that allows the public direct access, attendance, and participation, including being able to call in via telephone. You post information, these bodies must post information that enables the public to directly access the electronic platform and include info in the meeting's published agenda or notice. And they may also continue to hold screens. Here we go. Requirements for public comment. At an open meeting, the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinions on matters considered by the public body during the meeting, as long as order is maintained. Public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established by the chairperson, and which we provide for and list at the top of the agenda, and for which you all accept public comment clearly not in the agenda. You must take and post minutes for all meetings, covering all the topics and notions that arise, providing a true indication of what happens in the business of the meeting, meeting minimum statutory requirements, and be made available and posted to the town's website within 5 days. And each minute right now may feel like an.
It's great. Loving it.
Requirements to record and post meetings. This is for, again, you are a non-advisory body, so you must be electronically recording and causing to record all meetings and retain these recordings in a designated location for at least 30 days after posting, unless doing so would pose an undue hardship. And I know that you retain them for more than 30 days because I have gone back and watched some of them. Website posting and trainings. So these are the things you must post on your website. Again, this is related to a violation and how someone may submit notice of violation to the body and to the Attorney General's office. And then the following officers must participate in a training annually held by the Secretary of State with the chairs of legislative bodies, town managers, and mayors. And I believe your mayor has already started his training.
And there's another training next week, so I'll
Great.
go to that as well, a live one.
Here is some information if you all wish to engage in training. This is from the league. It is coming up in April. The city will cover any costs for you to attend or reasonable expenses you incur up in Stowe, and it's select board essentials. So, you know, what you need to know and things you should be grounded in as a public elected official in the state of Vermont. I am happy to forward this to anyone who wants to send it out. Exemptions for when you have an open meeting is for executive session, deliberations and quasi judicial proceeding, site inspection for the purpose of assessing damage or making tax abatements, clerical work or staff work assignments, and routine day-to-day administrative matters that do not require public action by the public body. Complaints and cures. So, excuse me. If there is a complaint, a notice of violation received, the public body has 10 days to acknowledge the violation. State its intent to cure and determine that no violation has occurred. A failure to respond is treated as a denial of the violation. If you acknowledge the violation, then it must be cured within 14 days, which is ratifying or declaring as void any action taken during that meeting which was not compliant with the open meeting law. If a meeting was not noticed, if a meeting, someone was wrongfully excluded from attending or participating, or an executive session was not properly authorized. And then also adopt specific measures that actually prevent future violations. This is the birthday example. All right, any questions on open meeting law?
I don't, but in the interests of gathering information, Mr. Whitaker, you are very knowledgeable on open meeting laws. In the spirit of helping us continuously improve and be better, is there anything that you might offer that would help us in the future? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Manager Curry.
Okay. Public records law. As you are all probably familiar with this, I'll zoom through this one as well. These are referred to as sunshine laws, and they serve an excellent purpose, right? Which is to allow the public access to the materials that inform the deliberations that you all make before taking policy actions every month. Public records requirements. So this is a Vermont law, grants access to records for either inspection or copying unless they are exempt by law. The policy ensures timely response without an unreasonable interruption of our operations and our execution of tasks to keep the city running. Public records include any written or recorded information created or obtained through city business and are generally available unless exempt. And this policy applies to records held by the custodian of the specific office. The agency refers to the city, the custodian are those identified individuals in the agency that manage records. Promptly means within 3 business days or 10 for large requests. And business day is the day that we are open for business. Generally Monday through Friday.
Question?
Yes,
So agency would be DPW and then Kurt would be the custodian, or the city is the
The
agency
city
and
is the
DPW is the
agency,
custodian?
yes. And generally the custodian will reach out to the individual departments who are holding the records
Right, thank you.
to help fulfill the requests. And right now, our HR director is serving that as well. And Evelyn spends a lot of time supporting. Right? All right, Evelyn? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna make sure I have people, the right custodian named. So we live in an interesting time. Records take a lot of different shape these days. And so, you know, I think law and policy are already out of date relative to the types of records that exist and with which we must comply with providing on a day-to-day basis. And so, you know, you could be creating records in multiple different formats and should keep that in mind.
Also point out that with a BlackBerry and a flip phone, this cartoon is somewhat
Already
out of date as well.
Yeah. So I had both for a very long time.
Yeah, same.
Or making the switch. So the process is, this is our email that if someone who would like a record will reach out and request the record through this email. The custodian will inform the requester that their request has been received. And will begin to process that request. Again, 3 days for normal records, an extension to 10 days can be asked for as well. If the custodian is withholding the record as exempt, they have to tell the person that and not only just say, we are denying your request for this record because it's exempt. They have to give the reason why, an explanation of what element of the law, police record for a juvenile, might be one. That's an exemption. Or proprietary information being used for deliberation for an action that's not yet been taken would be another. Allowable extensions, I mentioned this. Sometimes we have voluminous requests received that will take quite a lot of staff effort, sometimes to compile the records, sometimes to convert the records into a proper form that are accessible for the person who. We are authorized to charge for the cost for producing the record, as well as staff time to produce the record, because the state law allows for legislative bodies, for agencies and their legislative bodies to adopt a uniform schedule of fees and charges in order to do that. The first 30 minutes of spending staff time on collecting that record is omitted, is for free. And then they must be paid prior to delivery of the record to that person. So this is you all adopted, this body adopted a uniform fee, and this is part of it.
What defines the record? Is it the entire request? In all emails between the state and that state, on this subject, is that the record? Or is the record?
That's a good question. I think it is the entirety of the.
And it's the time, it's whose time? The time of the person who eventually transmits it to the requester, or everybody who participates in.
Everybody, we track
Fine.
everybody who participates in the compilation of the record, less 30 minutes of the time that was spent. And then we provide an online opportunity to pay in advance of getting the record, or they can come in and be done. Or
Yeah.
No. Almost the expert Evelyn, like, we gotta turn it off and jump in. And so this, you can see again, this is sort of out of date, like, we're not burning CDs for people currently as ways of providing records, but we may provide a thumb drive, you know, should it be a large file. You know, we ostensibly could probably add something about like a Dropbox. Those sorts of things. Moving into the future as well. If a request is denied, it can be appealed to me, the city manager. Again, for a denial to be legitimate, they need to provide, the custodian needs to provide the reason in law why that record is exempt. That comes to me. I review that and make sure it is appropriate, has been appropriately denied. Sometimes I need to seek legal counsel on whether that's been appropriately denied, and then respond with, you know, either an appeal or direction back to the custodian to fulfill the request. And both have happened.
Sorry. Can I ask a clarifying question just around the process of, if someone makes a request, they, rather than have like, I want copies of all of these things, they could, we have to make the record like publicly available to them to come and inspect, right? But we still charge in advance for the time estimated to assemble that record?
I don't believe so. I think it's just the production of it.
Correct. Evelyn Prim again, communications coordinator. So in that instance where say a records request comes in and a staff estimates it's going to take an hour and a half to produce, we would then quote the individual a you know, less 30 minutes, that amount of time. At that point, they could either pay to receive a physical copy or digital copy of that record, or they could say, I opt to inspect, at which point we would make it available on like a public laptop that they could then come and inspect the record and look at it, but not take it with them. So at that point, we do not charge for any of that.
So just by way of example, if I said, if the mayor filed, an individual in the community filed a FOIA request or a freedom of information request, says, I want all the emails for the past 6 months on this issue related for these two counselors, right? These two counselors, I think that they were talking about something out of turn. I want all the emails for those two counselors. And you would make an assessment that said, well, that's going to take me 10 hours of work to put all of that together, either in a hard copy or in like an electronic copy, like a PDF. And then the requester could say, well, I don't want to pay for the paper copy. I want to see it on a laptop at the city hall. You would have to assemble all of that material. And would that person have to pay before the material was assembled? And so what would happen if the person requested all of that? The time was put in to create the record was then presented in an electronic form, and the person never showed up to look at it.
That happens. And that is part of kind of some of that our human resources, Tanya and I talked about during our presentation on public records. And basically the cost of the paper, say it is an email that we would then print out if they wanted a copy of that. The cost of the paper is, you know, pennies. All of the work involved in producing the record, whether it's going to be for a copy or an inspection, costs the same. So that's where the cost is really generated from the staff time to produce the record, whether it's, they just want to look at it in an inspection or have a physical copy.
And we're just not authorized.
Yeah, no, I'm just seeking to understand. Yeah.
Council Brown.
Yeah, my theory is that the public records law that we have on the books goes back to a time way back in history when records consisted of a couple of filing cabinets in an office. And so the question was, do we make a photocopy of this record that's in the folder and give it to the person and they take it away with them? Or do we just let them come in and open up the file cabinet and take a look in the folder? And that is so far off from how things actually are now, but that's kind of what the assumptions are all built on. So the idea that we can charge for the time it takes to make the photocopy of the record and give it to somebody. So that's like worth charging, but in reality, all of the work is really the same nowadays, whether you're actually producing a copy and giving it to someone, they can take it away with them, or if they're just looking at it. And so that's something where the law needs to catch up to how things actually work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also just add that like, it is our intention to make all records that we can available ahead of time, so people don't need to submit a public records request. Like we, of all people, the people who are the custodians of transmitting the records, we want to have this process be as streamlined as possible, which is why we make everything we possibly can available, either on the website or in a binder that lives in like the clerk's office, for instance, or here in this building. So it's really records that are things like, yeah, text messages and emails that we can't just upload to the website, you know, and then have that be downloadable. That's where the real labor comes in.
Clarification, sorry.
Thank you. Support.
And I will note, I did invite the lead to come do this presentation to you, but not with much lead time. So a week wasn't enough, but they are readily available and would be happy to come and, you know, answer any questions. Okay. All right, this is so rules of procedure. I'm noting it here. It was on my agenda. You will all actively adopt them once we're done with this orientation. We have a few more elements to cover, but I'm going to turn it over to your city clerk, John Odom, for a little info on Robert's rules. Should I stop sharing?
Yes. Oh. Okay. Try to make this quick. Robert's rules, obviously, people take semester-long classes on it. People get certified in it. I have done neither at this point, although Sarah, my deputy, is pretty close. I got to catch up with her. But so this is just a few basics, things that come up, and a couple things that have come up. I thought I'd toss in here. A couple of them seem anomalous. But so Robert's Rules of Order is supposed to be your friend. A lot of people consider it something that gets in the way or makes things more difficult. It's actually designed really to protect members' rights, to promote smooth group functioning. It ensures legally defensible actions, and that's really important. And a little more about that. It's about meeting efficiency. It's you own the meeting, and this helps it happen, and this helps facilitate what you need to get done, and it creates predictability for the public. Now, we're a small board, technically. You're a small board. I'm not on the board, but I think the threshold, it's either 12 or 15. So a 7-person board doesn't have to be so strict with Robert's rules. Informal discussion is permitted without a motion pending. The mayor can speak in the debate. There's no limit to number of times a member can speak to a question. Now, this last one, there doesn't have to be a motion actually to vote on something. That's something the public expects. And public expectations and tradition are also a part of Robert's rules. So I would advise you all to stay away from that one. But technically, it's an option. RONR's Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. So that's tossed out there. I'll leave that with you there. Yeah, so Robert's Rules, it's about internal order and fairness among members, while Vermont law is about public transparency. So these things are different. And where law is going to come in here, there's going to be a hierarchy of operations here with how you run things. It's going to start with the charter. And the charter just says you got to have some kind of rules of procedure. It doesn't specify Robert's rules. There are other parliamentary systems, or you could make one up or modify one. You know, that would all be fine under the charter. What then goes under that is going to be just the general statute. Charter is statute, but then you've got other statute. And that is going to particularize some of where you go and how you manage your meetings, and would supersede Robert's rules to the extent it does. Then there could be any ordinances you have that relate to it. We don't have any. And at the bottom of that list, what's left over is Robert's rules. And you all do, I think, in your rules of procedure, adopt Robert's rules as your basis for your rules of procedure. But it's got a different approach than statute, though. In Robert's rule, and it's a different approach, but there's a couple things I want to compare. In Robert's rules, a member can move to amend the agenda after it is approved. This has come up. This question has come up a lot. It requires a majority vote, and the body can immediately act on it. If the agenda was adopted with special restrictions like time limits, members may move to suspend the rules. That requires 2/3 of a vote. There's no concept in Robert's rules of a notice to the public. That's just, Robert's rules, again, is just for running your meeting. So statute is where things get different and where you have to be aware. In statute, any addition or deletion from the agenda has to be made as the first act of business at the meeting. Any other adjustment to the agenda that's not adding or deleting, just like changing the order, can be made at any time during the meeting. It's not a big deal. Now, this sort of surprised me when I looked into it. There is no statutory prohibition on voting, on taking action on an item that is added. However, everybody tells you, watch out. The AG's advice, the league's advice, attorney's advice, and that's because there's an expectation in the law that the public, and the purpose of an agenda is that the public be informed. So if you're short circuiting that information process and that information that a possibility to participate, you are short circuiting the intent of the law. And that's not a good idea. It can be done, but you should only think about doing it if there's something urgent. And if you do, you should explain in the motion why it's urgent. Get that on the record. So yeah, technically it's allowed. Watch out. Dangerous territory.
Councilor Braddock's question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was having trouble understanding this at first. I understand it now, but I just want to kind of restate it so that if we add something to the agenda tonight, and then we are technically legally allowed to vote on it. But it's really not abiding by the spirit of the law, which requires transparency and notice to the public.
Yeah, it's a bad idea because it could open you up.
But just because we're legally allowed to do it doesn't mean that we should.
Right. And everybody says don't do it.
Yeah.
Basically. This over here. Now, there are expectations under Robert's rules, and they're laid out in Robert's rules. So it's not just this is sort of how we do things and makes us feel good. Robert's rules expects that courtesy and respect will be shown. Under Robert's rules, comments should be addressed to the mayor, actually, rather than cross to each other. Again, small board rules, you've got flexibility in that. You should seek recognition before speaking. You should follow the agenda and keep the remarks relevant to each item. One person speaks at a time. Each member speaks once before others speak again. Motions must be concise and clearly stated. All motions must be worded in the positive. This is something you all have done sometimes where you move not to do something. And you think about that for a minute, it doesn't make sense, right? If you don't want to do something, you just don't do it. But anyways, the maker of the motion speaks first. The maker cannot speak against the motion, which is sort of entertaining. And individual members should just show respect for the group results, is the idea, so that everything stays friendly and you can move along smoothly. Now, the meeting presider is a group servant. enforces the rules of order and decorum, announces business in the proper sequence, recognizes members to speak, states the questions and puts them to a vote, announces the results of each vote and what action follows, and then expedites the business in front of them compatible with members' rights. So there is an expectation that through, Robert's rules enables you to move things along.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
I've always been kind of confused about discussion of items. And I just on the agenda, the mayor says, let's take up this item. Maybe a staff member presents on the item, and then we just kind of start discussing. And then somebody might make the motion to take action, right? But then it's seconded, and then there's the opportunity for discussion. But what's the difference between the discussion before the motion and the discussion after the motion's been seconded?
With the small group rules, nothing. They're really, you have that ability to crosstalk without a motion being on the table. So it's not something you all really need to worry about. I think going along the way you have been is fine. Now the main motion, the basics of a main motion here.
Manager Curry, did you have a question there?
Oh, sorry.
No, I just might propose something for consideration is, and you might want to ask clarifying questions in your first discussion, and then have deliberative discussion after the motion is made, like particularly if public hearing happens in the middle of that. Because then you've asked your clarifying questions, tried to get all the info on the table, heard from the public, and then you actually do your deliberation. Because I don't know how that lines up with Robert's rules, but I think.
Councilor Alfano.
I actually think that's a reason to discuss before the motion, because otherwise you might end up amending the thing, a couple of times after you just, if it's made initially discussed without all the information. So I think as long as it's limited,
Yeah.
you just go on forever.
No, I'm fine. I actually really like, I really like what Kelly has said, that idea of asking all those kind of clarifying questions, but we know what we're making the most on. And then actually the actual deliberation, right? And trying to persuade one another that comes through the discussion.
I might suggest that because the rules allow us to do either or both, that if folks have thoughts about this, come to me, we'll discuss and we'll refine our process over time.
Yeah, you have a lot more flexibility as a small board. So when you make a motion, when no other motion is pending, obviously it takes a majority to pass. Any member can make a motion. Another member seconds, although we're going to get to that in a second here too. And then the one who is seconding it is basically agreeing to discuss. It's demonstrating that there's interest among the body to actually take this up. The presider states the motion. Members debate the motion and amend it if they wish. When discussion concludes, the presider restates the motion, calls for the vote, members vote. Presider states the result of vote, if motion passed or failed, and then what will happen as a result. So the motion carries, therefore we're going to do X. Basic how it goes. Now, a few other basics here. It is a mistake to say so moved. Simple motions can be easily stated. Take a moment to put complicated motions in writing. This comes up a lot. In a Robert's Rules context, people will write down their motions if it's going to be long and then read them out. And that certainly makes it easier for the secretary. A word on unanimous consent too, and this is just sort of jammed in there. Unanimous consent is a way not only to avoid a second, but to avoid a motion entirely. And that's if it's something very sort of perfunctory that everyone is going to agree with, like we can, like approving the agenda, you can approve the agenda by unanimous consent. You can, and it goes through as a motion unless someone objects to it, in which case you have to go through the whole, I move, I second, blah, blah. But you could use it on things like if no one has anything they want to come off the consent agenda to discuss, you could use it on the consent agenda. I've seen it used where there's an understanding or a motion to amend a motion that clearly there's universal agreement on, and the presider can say, we'll consider the motion amended by unanimous consent. You know, that's probably as far as you'd want to push it.
You need to ask. If there's no objection. before you do
Yes,
that.
yes, it
You
is.
ask if there's any objection.
That's what it assumes.
If they
Yeah.
approve by unanimous.
I mean, what you'll see them do in like Congress or something is the presider will say, without objection, we'll consider this approved, and then there's an opportunity for an objection. Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry.
On that part where it's says, so, don't say so moved. A lot of times when like the mayor may say, we're appointing, a member is up for appointment. Somebody just says so moved. So we should say, I move the appointment of the member,
That's proper under Roberts. Yeah,
because we've done that a number of times.
that's
So
common.
and I
It's
think-
super common.
we're all guilty at times.
That's
so-
super common. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Yeah,
I think what Joe is suggesting is that we try to avoid doing that in the future, just to be super clear about everything.
Yep.
I like
Yeah.
that.
well, that's why I was asking that, because we've done that quite often.
Thank you.
They do that in my clerks meetings. It drives me crazy. People.
So
All right,
So
so
we should
second,
remind somebody if they say so move, no, we're not doing that. Okay, thanks.
so for a motion, a second is proper, but it's actually not necessarily required. If the chair is certain that a motion meets with wide approval, they may state the question without waiting for a second. Until debate has begun, if debate has begun, or if there's no debate, a point of order may be raised to require a second. So if you start debating, somebody can say, wait, point of order, it hasn't been seconded, I want a second. And then you formally get a second, but it can be moved by if there's essentially universal agreement that it can be, at least implicitly.
And it seems like the other end of that is if no one raises that issue, it's considered to be moved and seconded.
Yeah, there's
The
been
debate itself.
a couple times over the last few years, a motion's been made that wasn't seconded. And I've gone back and reviewed the tape and it wasn't seconded, but under Robert's rules, that's okay. Now, just in case there is a question, because not everybody understands that, when that has happened in the minutes, I've quoted chapter and verse from Robert's rules and plugged it in there. But that is okay. Yeah. I don't advise that because again, there's a public expectation. There's a public understanding and it's tradition. So I think I wouldn't fall into that one too much if I were you.
I was just thinking in the event that it occurred. and
Yeah.
Someone later said, oh, that wasn't seconded.
You're still covered under Robert's rules. Yeah, exactly. Now a motion to amend must be related to the main motion. Oh, I'm taking a long time. Sorry about this. I'll pick it up. I can't see my own slide here. I cannot negate it or convert it to a different motion. So if I move that we paint the walls green, you can't amend it to, I move that we refuse to paint the walls green, or I move that we get lunch. You know, it's got to be germane, it's got to be connected, it can't, and you know, you all have done this, I won't take too much time on it, but during the debate of the main motion, you move to amend, it gets a second, you can add, insert, strike out, and add, and the purpose is to perfect the main motion. Now, the amendment itself can be amended only once because you can amend an amendment, but it is set up so that you can't do that forever. And if the motion fails, the discussion returns to the main motion and off and on you go. Now, the motion to table is always misused. If you see me wince over here sometimes when somebody talks about tabling something, that's what's going on. Pet peeve. Tabling means it's going to be picked up again the same meeting. Does not mean you're putting it off to another meeting. That's postponing. You can postpone to a definite time. You can refer something to committee. If you want to kill something, you're postponing it indefinitely. That's the way to make it die. So changing your mind, because this has come up a couple times. A motion can be withdrawn by the mover before discussion begins. That's okay. Once the discussion begins, though, the body owns the motion. So that's important. It's the group's motion after discussion has begun. A member can change a vote up until the mayor announces the result. Now, after the result, that doesn't necessarily end it, because after the result's announced, a vote can be changed with unanimous agreement to that. Now, at the same meeting, somebody on the winning side who just maybe they won and they decided they wanted to vote on the other side, they can have a motion to reconsider. So if you were on the winning side, you can move to reconsider. You could also move to amend something previously adopted or to rescind a motion that's already passed. Now, you can do those indefinitely. You could do those 2 meetings later if you want. But the catch is, once something has started to take effect, some sort of process has begun as a result of that motion, then you can't change it. So I moved to, we paint the door green. 2 meetings later, I moved to rescind that motion, or I moved to amend that we paint it red. Well, we've already bought the green paint. Can't do it. So
You also cannot rescind that.
you couldn't rescind it if the ball is already rolling. You know, you've made the financial commitment. It's happening. It's too late to rescind it.
You'd have to make a new motion to do something else.
Yeah, you'd have to move. We're going to stop this, you know, but you couldn't move to rescind. Almost done here. Okay, yeah, already went through this. Timing, second required. Yeah, we did that already. Okay, I'm at the end here. So I have a birthday cake here because this year is the 150th birthday of Robert's Rules of Order. So happy birthday to Robert's Rules. If you want to get more into this, because you could go forever into this, and this took a lot longer than I thought it would. I apologize. I can do more presentations concerning specific topics. That's fine. You can get full training sessions from a registered. There are registered parliamentarians. There's a nice little guidebook. It's short about running good meetings. A little pricey. It's $25 each, but it's pretty cool. We could get one of those for everybody. You can take time at any council meeting to discuss anything, or you could, you can create, like I say, the charter doesn't say you have to use Robert's Rules. So you could, if you wanted to, get into it and look into something else or make some personalized modifications, and you could create a rules committee to do something like that. But boy, does that sound like a pain. So, but yeah, so that's all I got.
Thank you.
All right, I have a few more questions to share. And
Just Google is the website.
The country was behind 100 years. We worked without Robert's Rules. How did it even get thought through that?
I'll just say, so we've gone through some very formal ways that you all interact together, and you also have some informal ways that you have all elected to interact together with the focus and goal of productive meeting. And so I'm just repeating these in here. They're also again in your manual. They're hung up here at every meeting, but the group norms that you all have adopted. Be fully present, safe communications outside this room for breaks. Sorry, this will touch up again. Speak our truth in a respectful manner using our finest and kindest words. When we express dissent, we communicate why. Listen for understanding, and if we wonder, ask. Respect others and allow them to talk without interruption, focus on the issues, don't personalize discussion. Come prepared. When a council member feels someone isn't following the group norms, use this language. We have all agreed to group norms. Sorry, I hope this advances here. But if not, that's okay. All right. I won't read the rest of these. This is mostly where I was going to end. Would be great to share. One more minute. Okay. Can be part of the reason why you have group norms to productively communicate with one another. Support innovative thinking, assume best intentions. We will monitor our group discussion and strive to stick to substantive issues. Don't pigeonhole one another and don't assume that previous perspectives represent current opinions. It is okay to express uncertainty, advocate for and defend the legitimacy of the city government. Acknowledge that government processes can be messy and be flexible and open to the imperfections of our processes. And avoid making personal attacks on other council members and city staff at meetings and with the media. Focus on ideas, not people. And I did not do a great job of this today, but I will be brief in the future.
You're not bad. All together, we're at about an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, good. And then I just throw this up here, this last one, because, you know, how do you attack a shark? Well, more successfully if you all do it together. And then also, I'm a big fan of Dolly Parton, so I'm gonna pepper her in to these meetings occasionally. And she says, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are going to. All right, so with that, we've reached the end of my presentation. You do have other work ahead of you as part of your first meeting together as this council. And I'll turn it over to the mayor.
But I think that it is more than 10 or 15 minutes worth, so we should take a break. Councilor Doyle, did you want to say something before?
No, just one of our group lunches that we take an 8:30 break.
Yeah, so we will break for, someone help me out, is it 10 minutes? We'll be back at 9 o'clock. Thank you. Back, if there's no objection, I'd say we come back to order. All right, hearing no objection, we're back to order. We're moving on now to 12, which is, I'm just going to read forward a little bit so we know what to expect. We're going to readopt the rules of procedure. We're going to elect the city council officers, president, vice president, and parliamentarian. We're going to review committee assignments. And then that bleeds into the next thing, the CVRPC, Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, and Transportation Advisory Committee. Okay. And then we'll be into the home stretch there with other business and reports. So with that, we'll move on to 12. Manager Curry, is this you up again?
You all must adopt your rules of procedure.
While you get there, I'd just like to restate sort of what we said at the top, that unless there are real pressing reasons to make big changes at this point, I think it's good that we just review where we are, level set, and then open up the idea that if we want to make changes in the future, we absolutely should do that. But that's not really what we're trying to accomplish tonight. All right, go ahead. Thanks.
Absolutely. So you must adopt your rules of procedure at the initial meeting post-election every March. And so they're in your packets. They were also copied and found in your manual.
I move that we approve the city council's rules of procedure as discussed.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimously passes. Great, we're on to number 13, electing of city council officers. Can we remember, so someone remind me who the officers were from last session?
You have three officers. You have a president, a vice president, and a parliamentarian.
Councilor Cohn was the president, is that correct? Who was, Councilor Brown was vice president and Councilor Alfano was parliamentarian, is that correct? Okay.
I will
Councilor-
move to reelect Councilor Khan as president.
Right, I'm going to try something that John, that Mr. Odom just said. Well, we don't want to get in the habit of skipping seconds, right? Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? The motion on the table is to reappoint Councilor Cohn as president. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Councilor Cohn, and thank you for your service and willingness.
Thank you.
We still have 2 officers left.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
It might be customary to ask if the former wishes to serve again.
No, good idea.
Would not be interested in serving as vice president again. I think it's helpful if these are offices that rotate through people, and I don't think that it serves anybody for me to hang on to the office of vice president yet again. I think if we wanted to establish some kind of progression or some sort of, logic or plan to it, that'd be great, but we don't have that currently. And so, I have been a parliamentarian. I have been the vice president. I don't want to do the one against the.
Okay. Councilor Brown, thank you very much for that. Being my first meeting, I wouldn't have been able to foresee such a thing. So perhaps next year we could move forward. We have voted on a president. Would you care to nominate someone for vice president? You don't have to, of course. Just okay. Then we will table that because we're going to come back to that in just a moment, right? That's not, we don't table. All right, so I was going to move to Sal for talk about parliamentarian and come back, but
I would nominate Sal Alfano for vice president.
okay. All right. Is there any discussion?
Okay.
Well, first, are you willing to accept that role?
Yeah,
if
that's
you should?
fine.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All right. All in the motion on the table is for Councilor Sal Alfano to take the role as vice president. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? All right, unanimously passes. Thank you, Councilor Alfano. And now we have the role of parliamentarian to be filled. Councilor Khan.
Want to explain what parliamentarian does for the public?
Sure. Councilor Alfano, would you like to explain that to us?
Almost nothing, actually. Well, it was much easier function when Jack was here because Jack knew all the rules. John knows a lot of the rules, so it's sitting close to John is really the main job.
Okay.
But I mean, you are consulted, and I think you might even have some authority. I'm not sure. I think about it again.
Essentially, the parliamentarian's role is to.
Can rule on something.
It's a charter.
Anyway, you need that, the Moby Dick version of Robert's rule.
To know the rules of procedure,
Yeah,
essentially.
there are
as the
some good
parliamentarian.
there are some good summaries though and that highlight the main points.
Yes, Manager Curry.
In the charter, under election of vice president, vice president, and parliamentarian, it does say the parliamentarian shall advise the council on rules of procedure.
Okay. seating assignments can be rearranged. Is there anyone who is interested in taking on this role? Great.
I'd be happy to take any.
I was just. So I'll second that. No.
Okay, so the motion is that Councillor Van Doyle will serve as parliamentarian. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Doyle, for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I think that concludes that item, and we're now on to what may or may not take more time than that, which is item 14, committee assignments. Before we move to any motions, is there general thought from anyone about their desire to change committee assignments, step down from committee assignments, et cetera? Councillor Gill.
I think this is the perfect time to talk about committees. So we do have a policy that we've discussed. I would like for the council to bring that back to an agenda item and consider adopting that policy, because I think it will help inform these committees, which are deemed active. Right? So I don't even know what some of these committees are doing. I haven't heard from them in years. So, I mean, we can talk about it and discuss it, but I don't know if I want to go through my personal opinion. I don't know if I want to go through this list today and assign ourselves to committees that I have no idea. In the policy that we will hopefully adopt at some point will be quote unquote active, right? So some of these may be sunsetted based on a policy. And I think we need to get some serious structure around these committees before we continue moving forward. That's my 2 cents.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I am with Councillor Gill on that. As I look at this list, there are some that I know we did something with. Didn't we put them on pause or hiatus or something? But I wouldn't have expected to see them on this list. So like there's Social and Economic Justice Advisory Committee is one that is definitely not active. And there's a couple others like that that we decided we were not going to be keep them going at this point. I don't think we abolished them, but I don't think we need to put them back on the list for consideration now. I think we made that decision already, and it would take an affirmative move on our part to put them back on. So I think it'd be great to clean these up. And I would suggest that maybe we could, for tonight, if there are people who would like to change their current committee assignments, now's the time to speak up about that. And if not, then we can just continue on with the assignments that we currently have. And then hopefully within the next few meetings, maybe we can get the final question about committees figured out.
Councillor Cohn.
So I was listed under Public Art Committee, and if it is possible, I wanna move back to Montpelier Alive. Yeah, that's all.
And I believe that Montpelier Alive is not listed here. However, in recently speaking with them, I know that they're anxious to have a counselor go back to the ex officio role on their board.
Yeah, I just wanna give like other people to opportunity to serve. That's why I didn't put my name last time. But then nobody was interested in, which I understand. So that's why if it is okay with everyone, I just wanna go back and serve as the city council liaison with Montpelier Alive.
Councillor Gill?
It is not on this list.
Correct.
Okay.
Because Montpelier Alive is not a city, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, Montpelier Alive is not a city committee, but there is an ex officio seat on the Montpelier Alive board that has been, and Councillor Cohn did fill it for, I think, at least 2 years running, your first 2 years on the council, and then in this past year, she stepped aside so someone else could have the opportunity, but no one stepped forward, and she's asking to resume that role.
So could we add it under other so that we are aware that she's spending her time there and that if and when we adopt a policy, we'll expect quarterly updates if that's what we decide to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, just a reminder, I also want to be removed from public art committee. I think
Okay,
that committee should be on the list. If I'm not wrong.
Councilor Sheridan,
Thank you.
thank you, Councilor Cohen.
We had two committees here that had three of us, and I think that's way too many, so I pulled off of the housing committee. And I think we ought to take Ben off the homeless committee.
This is actually the first I'm hearing on my own.
Okay.
You're right, Jim, we did agree to that, right?
Yeah.
So agree with humanity, and I haven't been serving in the homeless.
So take me off of the housing committee. I go to all the meetings, but I'm not gonna be a rep, council liaison. And take Ben off the homeless committee, and I'll pick up one other one. I'll pick up because my neighbor is just 2 houses down from me, who's the president. I'll pick up the TW Wood Art Gallery that McCullough used to do.
I have, they've asked me to do it because that role has traditionally been occupied by the mayor.
That's fine. Take it.
Part of me would be happy to let you do it, but they have asked, and I've already.
Yep, no, that's fine. I was just gonna take it because they're 2 doors down from me, that's all.
Can I just ask like a kind of point word question or like process of how were these committee assignments made historically? Is the mayor the person that appoints people to the committees? Is it just like, I want to do that and then it's, I mean, I know like on a nonprofit board, for example, board members might say, I want to serve on that committee, and it goes to the chair of the board, who then in consultation with either the executive director, or in this case, maybe the city manager, has purview to actually make the assignments. So I would actually suggest, maybe just for process point of view, that if people have interest in specific committees, they should email their interest to the mayor, or publicly say it now, if that's preferable, but like email it to the mayor, and then the mayor and the city manager just make the assignments based on, the moving pieces. Understanding too, that there's a larger conversation to be had about the nature of committees and such.
Yeah. Manager Curry.
Not that I don't want to help you, no, but council has the authority over appointments to board. What I'm more than happy to do is revisit the work that you all have done in the past about this, come back with the charge, the committee, staff input, a recommendation on whether to retain, consolidate, eliminate the committee, and we can do that in concert with an updated policy about
If I could summarize what I think I'm hearing from several parts of the room, is that we try to be not formal about this language. The committee structure and assignments currently are somewhat of a mess, and we would like to revisit them. Also, as just a sort of step that needs to be taken at a first meeting, we need to appoint. So I've also heard, I think from Councilor Brown, the idea that with the exception of a few changes that people wanting to step on or off of something, we'll mostly just keep things as they are until we are able to, within the next few meetings, revisit this committee topic. Does that generally sound like what the conversation has been? So, Councilor Cohen.
So I just wanna make a one point. We kind of talked about the same thing last year after the election. It took us like 3 months to come back and do this. And everybody was, are you serving on this committee? I said, no, we are waiting. It was really very confusing.
It sounds confusing.
Yeah, so maybe you said
2 weeks, which is next meeting, then
I'm sorry, I'm at 2 meetings, but
2 meetings,
yeah.
okay. So that's what my point, like, can we just put a real deadline? Then we can go back our committees and say that I will be on this one, please don't expect me, or because if that it happened like last time, it will take like forever
Okay.
to go back. Thank you.
Question for the new guy, within these committees, is there real attachment to which counselor is, I mean, I'm sure the answer is different depending on the committee and depending on the counselor, but I mean, if the committees were assigned a different counselor than they had before, is that very upsetting to the whole process, or Counselor Doyle?
I think it can be, right?
Yeah.
If there's, you want continuity, just thinking about the homelessness committee, obviously, Jen would, I wanted to actually just speak to Councilor Cohn's point about, I think part of the challenge was, remember we put some committees on hold? So I think we might be conflating a little bit the distinction between, let's eliminate committees, put committees on hold, and hold appointments. I think if we were to just say now, we're gonna be evaluating the committees on a tighter timeline, but everybody's gonna keep serving on the committees if they want to, except for the ones that we just talked about, then I think we're good, right? And I don't think it'll lead to the confusion that happened before. But we were waiting a long time because people were asking, does our committee even exist anymore? And we're like, we'll get back to you. And I think if we can avoid that, which we would, I think we'll be okay.
Councilor Cohn.
So I think I am on the same page with you. So we are just telling which committee we wanna serve on tonight. Whoever makes their mind, right?
I think what we're saying is, if there's something really specific that you want, like, so for example, I think you suggest you want to go on public art.
Yeah.
Great, right? And yeah.
I was just checking, like, because I don't know if that is the right thing to do or not. Thank you.
Councilor Alfano.
Well, for example, the Complete Streets Committee is thinking that maybe the ADA committee ought to combine with Complete Streets in a way that sort of makes sense. Have you heard that from?
I have
ADA
had,
side?
I've had no response from anybody connected to the ADA advisory committee that I am technically a part of.
Neither have I.
I've never seen it
Met
need
over a
to-
year. I talked to Chris about it with the chair, and it hasn't met for a while. But so what I'm getting at, I guess, is what Helen's talking about is, when will we resolve those kinds of issues? I'm trying to remember whether we decided Complete Streets would combine with transportation. Did we put that on hold as well? I'm not sure, but that was also a thought. So there's a couple of things like that that are in limbo that we need to resolve before we can iron all this out.
Is it true that we need to iron that out, that we need to resolve that before we can move to sort of preserve the status quo for the next few weeks as we work it out? We can do both.
We can resolve.
Okay, Councilor Brown, were you going to say something?
That's what I've been.
Okay. Yes, Manager 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say, so something I was gonna hand out for consideration for you all is maybe organizing the agenda a little bit differently, based on action, non-action discussion at the bottom, future agenda. And so listing kind of the next 4 meetings and what we have teed up for that. Right now, for the 8th, which would be 2 meetings from now, we have scheduled a second public hearing on a sprinkler ordinance that we'll discuss the 25th, the first reading, second reading, April 8th. And the housing assessment that the Regional Family Commission has prepared, and we'll come and present that to us. And I think we could put this community policy on the agenda for that day and bring back the discussion that you already started and come back with some recommendations.
And I'd like to suggest that we not try to put this topic as a discuss and make decisions all at the same time. No, but recognize that we're not trying to drag this process out for months and months, but perhaps allow us to gather feedback. If folks want to offer feedback to Manager Curry through email or through conversations, we'll have a discussion at an upcoming meeting, and then we will make a decision at a subsequent meeting.
Can I clarify that? I think we have like a couple. Actually, Adrian, maybe I'll defer to you. You already have something on this?
Yeah, so the policy, I mean, I think we've had 2 or 3 meetings about the policy, so everyone has reviewed it. We provided input. We were supposed to adopt it in November, and then November happened. Everything just like stopped. And so I don't know, I don't remember exactly what happened, but we were going to adopt the policy so that beginning of this new year, the goal was to start, invite all these committees in and utilize the policy. Like it's all written in the policy to get an update, to look at what their annual plan is, to align our goals, to start the quarterly reporting. Like it's an entire cadence that should begin right now.
Okay.
So we want to hear from all these committees, and that's going to take time, right? I mean, this isn't a policy that we can still obviously, negotiate, but this was the vision, was in the beginning of each year, we get an update from them. It could be written, they can come into council, but we need to understand what their work plan is for the year. Like the housing committee, just an example, we've gotten a couple emails that they're working on stuff, but as a council, we really should understand what their 12-month work plan is that aligns with council so that we can approve it. And then we get those quarterly updates as they progress through their work. And the whole purpose of this is to really avoid the problem that we had in the past where we had committees working on projects for 1 to 2 years and never provided updates to council. And then they came with an entire presentation and a proposal that no one on council even knew what they were doing. And, the council voted no on something and everyone resigned. So we want to have that never happen again. And we want to value our committee members. We want to value their time. They are the experts that sign up for these committees in their field. So we want to be very clear that we're utilizing their expertise. And so that is why that policy is written the way it's written, so that we can, really appreciate all these people that are doing this work on behalf of the council.
Thank you, Councilor Gill. Councilor Gully.
I don't remember, did we actually pass that policy or was
No.
it something for consideration?
No, we did not pass it. We talked about it. Folks edited it, but then it just fell away.
I remember.
Okay, good. Yes.
Yes, unless Councilor Sheridan, did you have something you want to say first?
Well, I just wanted to give some guidance to the city manager. On the capital planning committee, of which I was a member, I stepped off because it was always done before our council meeting, and that was just too long of a afternoon and night for me to do. So I don't want to be on that committee if it's going to be done before a council meeting. And I understand the reason was because the staff is there and they didn't want to make the staff come in. But then they're putting it on a counselor to have a long day and to save the staff. And so if it's going to be done the same way, one following the other, I don't want to be on that capital. It's just too long a day for me.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Councilor Khan, you were about to say?
Yeah, as far as I remember, we should go and check the recording. Kelly Murphy told that she was planning to bring it to the council for adaptation, but then she realized that she can't do this as a city manager. So she said we can just like use it as this way. So we can go and check the recording, but that's why we never made a vote or we never say we adopt. Yeah, but we should check the meeting. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Brown.
I don't really remember those details. That sounds very familiar, but I think it would be a good idea for us to bring that back, look at it, and then officially say, yes, we want it. When Councilor Gill circulated it recently, I had some thoughts that, I would like to change this, or I might like to change that. And so I think it's worth discussing, not that we have to spend months and months on it and reinvent it, but if we could get it back on the agenda so that we could have that discussion, and then we could say, yes, this is how we want to handle committees and pass it.
Thank you. Manager Curry, is that something we can dig up and circulate to council to review before the next meeting? Oh.
To the prior conversation and, you know, there may just be some obvious suggestions about what this retire certain committees.
I confess I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Oh, you may,
No, because my email address has not been activated yet. Yeah.
Oh, shouldn't somebody, do we take?
Oh. Well, let it be now said, I'm not ignoring you for some personal reason. I'm not getting those emails yet. We're working on it. Yeah, so apologies to everyone. So I hope you didn't feel like you were being ignored.
So what I'm hearing is like next meeting, we come back with a chance to discuss the policy that, you know, Adrian worked on, maybe with others, and then this maybe a cleaned up list of, we know some of these committees have been retired, so. And
So it sounds like this is what I'm trying to learn here. Not making a motion, but we should postpone this topic until the next meeting. Maintain the status quo for now. Does that sound like, or should that be a motion?
I personally
Does that
think
work?
we'll provide a direction to the city manager to add it to the agenda. I don't believe it requires a vote, although.
though you have had some very specific requests on committee appointments right now. It could take action on it if you wish. And so what we would bring back would be this list updated with the ones you have all said, I want to drop off, I want to get added, and based on a decision.
Since it came up, in the past, in the distant past, this stuff was done as motions. In the last several years, the committee stuff has all just been done without formal action. I'm not sure what the difference between one or the other is, but that's the way it's sort of sugared out probably for the last 6 years or so. So I don't know if you want to change that back. I don't know that there's a reason to.
Somebody help me out here. I'm confused where we are. Council Manager Curry, yeah.
Yeah, I think what John has said is you have the opportunity to informally accept these requests of your counselors to serve on the committees they wish or no longer wish to. And don't have to make a motion to adopt that. We just report it, update the form, we let staff know, they know certain people are on, certain people are off. And move forward that way. That's up to you. I don't think there's anything that prevents you from formally doing that either.
Except that it might get complicated if somebody wanted to leave. If it was a formal action. But that's just off the top of my head. Now that I say that, I'm not sure that that's the case.
I mean, I think that the only folks who are, what's this public art actually doing anything?
Yes.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Manager Curry.
I just want to make sure I've collected all the movement that I think I heard. So Councilor Cone would like to be the representative to Montpelier Alive, which will have the other committee section. She would also like to be removed from the Public Art Committee. Councilor Sheridan would like to be removed from the Housing Committee and Capital Planning Committee. Councilor Doyle would like to be removed from the Homelessness Committee. And Mayor, you would like to be added to the T.W. Wood Gallery Committee.
Yes. I think that's also what I have in my notes. Councilor Brown.
I found it. I found who appoints committees and how it works. It's not in the charter, it's in the ordinances.
Okay.
The mayor appoints members.
Oh, great. Then everybody stand by for your assignments.
Yes. Annually, the mayor shall appoint from the members of the council such committees as may be necessary for the proper conduct of business of the council. And probably the mayor gets to decide what the committee does.
Great. Then if anyone has needs, wants, wishes around this, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll work with Manager Curry to put in effect the appointments as we've discussed tonight. And next week we will add committees to the agenda. Councilor Gill.
And I'll just say, we do have these discussions based on our capacities. Like I work full time.
Mhm.
So there's very limited extra time I have to participate in the committees. That's why I've dedicated my entire extra time to the subcommittee. And so that is, for me, that's pretty much I'm at capacity.
So I think what we've just learned, thank you for that, Councilor Gill. I think what we've just learned, though, is that we're now much more nimble. We could just have discussions with me and then I can appoint. Yeah. Manager Curry.
Yes, I'll put this clearly in a memo when we future discuss it, but there is authority for the council as a board to create and eliminate the board itself. So the body creates the board, adopts the charge, you appoint the individual to that board.
So I just, if I could, one last thing about when we come back and we talk about holistically about the nature of committees and what committees and all those kinds of things, I do think that capacity question is really important.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just important.
Yeah.
You know, and are all of the, I mean, we've had, I literally don't know, but like over 20 meetings at the subcommittee, all of which have been wonderful. But you know, as a result, I don't feel like I love the tree board, but I haven't been able to provide them with the support that I would like to. Right. And so I just think we need to be realistic with ourselves about why do we have these committees and are we really capable of giving them the attention that we say we want to?
Mhm. And I mean, I think for my part, I will commit to being realistic and taking all of that into account. It's not like willy-nilly, people are just going to get assigned to things that they can't handle. That seems counterproductive. Okay, great. Then I think we can move on to the next agenda item. CVRPC and TAC appointment. Right here, I'm gonna say, for myself and for members of the public who maybe don't know what all the acronyms and who Matt is, for example, that we should make a habit of just saying the long form of something at least the first time in each meeting. So right here, we're talking about the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission appointment and the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission Transportation Advisory Committee appointment. And those appointments, I'm not sure what needs to be discussed. It's Mr. Miller and Mr. Miller to the CVRPC and Ms. Donna Bate to the Transportation Action Committee. Councilor Sheridan.
I don't know why these weren't advertised. And, you know, rather than just appointing people. I mean, they weren't advertised. We don't have an alternate. So that wasn't even included in this. So I think we ought to, I'm not going to vote for anybody until we advertise this. And if they're the only ones that, you know, come back and want it, then fine. But I think it wasn't advertised and nobody's even talked about our alternate to the Central Vermont Regional Planning Committee. We don't have one. And so without advertising, you know, we usually advertise for these type of things. So
Would you? Councilor Gill. Thank you, Councilor Sheridan.
So this kind of raised a little bit of a flag for me because couldn't remember the exact moment in time because we have a lot of meetings, but something came up when we did have a discussion in the past about the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission and Mike is on that board. And we had a whole discussion about a conflict of interest that he voted for. I couldn't quite remember, but then I did a bunch of research and looking at who's on these commissions and, you know, it's up to council to appoint them. And there's a couple different ways to look at it. So I'd like to get some more information in terms of like a staff person representing, you know, council on this commission, or would we prefer to have someone from like the planning commission, from a policy perspective? Like there's different ways to position this governance commission. It's a very important commission, but as a council, what representative do we want to have? Do we want to have a staff representative coming from that staff perspective, or do we want someone more of like a policy governance representative? Because it's totally different. So I think we do want to, I would say, let's just get some more education on how we want our representative on this important commission, because we have a lot of stuff coming up. And maybe it is appropriate for a staff person to be on there, but I think without a little bit of background and education about pros and cons and risks of which avenue we take, I feel like I don't have the education and the resources to make that type of decision.
Thank you. Anyone else perspective before we make motions?
Yeah, I mean,
Councilor Doyle.
we just say that I respect that. I think that that's, appropriate if you have questions about it. But I also want to just acknowledge, I think both of these individuals have served our city in numerous capacities with distinction for years. And I think, certainly I have extreme confidence in Mike Miller, representing us at the commission, but I understand really what your question is, and I think it's worthy of exploration. I just want to acknowledge their expertise and service.
Any other discussion, Councilor Cohen?
Yeah, I just wanna see the rule, right? Which rules we need to follow to do this thing. And I agree with all of you and that, yeah, these are very important, experienced people, and it is not about people. I think it's about the rule. So it will be great if we can see the rules, right? I don't know if we need to advertise or not. So do we? I don't know. Maybe we can decide after learning all the rules we need to follow. That's
I'm
my
not
perspective.
prepared to
Thanks.
answer any of these questions.
Okay. Mr. Odom, do you have any insight into what those rules are? Okay. Councilor Alfano.
These terms already expired, that expired election day.
If I could, I think it would be a great opportunity for someone, perhaps the city manager, to just reach out to Christian Meyer, who's the executive director of Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, ask him about, the process in other communities, what his experience has been, those kinds of things, and maybe that report back could inform her to.
Does anyone have an idea of what the timeline for the need of this? Are there meetings in the next 2 weeks that we need a representative at? Is it the kind of thing, if we cannot decide tonight, we would need to call a special meeting for this purpose? Even if it were a 10-minute Zoom or whatever, is that? Okay. Councilor Gill.
I just want to make sure, I think there's rules and regulations from what I read online today, but I just want to be very clear that I want to understand the governance, the pros and cons of the staff versus a policy person, because and when you look at the commission, they're all different roles, and you can have a planning director. It's absolutely, some cities, the councilor does appoint a plan director. That's totally fine, but other councils can they look at the planning commission, they want someone on there because it's more of like a policy position rather than a staff's opinion in terms of like just, guidance and instruction. I mean, there's different ways to look at it. So I just want to have a little bit more education about what we want. I don't think we've ever talked about it through that lens.
Great. So I'm going to recap what I'm hearing, and then I think I'm able to just make a decision in this case. What I'm hearing is that from Councilor Sheridan, we don't know enough about who else might fill these roles in order for us to properly make a decision. From Councilor Cohn and others, we're not exactly sure what the rules are about what we can do or must do. And I think for both of those reasons, it makes sense for us to postpone this decision to a later date. Although once we learn what the urgency is to have someone in that seat, perhaps prior to the next regular meeting, we may need to call a special meeting, which would then need to be warned 24 hours in advance. Did I get all that right? Great. Then we're gonna Manager Curry.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have the answer for you all right now. Based on what I do know, I do think the CVRPC is a different appointment than the others that you were making tonight, just in terms of the nature of its work and the formation of its structure. And so, important questions to consider for sure. I will find out if there is any hazard to not making that appointment this meeting.
Okay. And I will join Manager Curry in sort of owning the fact that this seems like something that we should know and we don't. So this is where that patience and grace that we asked for at the beginning is coming into place. And thank you everyone for your grace and patience. We'll get there. All right, then. Oh, we're in the home stretch, 16 through 21. Is there other business? Hearing none, we're going to move forward to 17, city council reports. Oh, I go one by one. All right. So let's, well, since you twitched first, we'll start with you, Councilor Doyle.
Sure. It usually goes.
In order, we're just gonna mix it up. Yeah, you twitched first, so.
No report.
No report.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership and to the council members for signing up again for another 2 years.
Great. All right, then we'll jump down to the end. Councilor Sheridan, anything to report?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, good job, rookie.
Thank you, sir.
I won't be able to join you tomorrow night. I have a long-standing eye appointment from a year ago that I do not want to postpone because I have problems with my eyes. I'm going to be dilated in the afternoon, and I don't want to be in a room like this with a lot of lights, and that's how schools generally are. So I'm going, I'll watch the presentation on Zoom, the opening one, but I don't want to be there. Even sunglasses, it's gonna hurt. So it just happens to be on the wrong night, but that's my appointment has been a long time coming and I want to go to it.
And was good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for saying, Councilor Cohn.
Yeah, I just want to echo that I welcome back our former city councilors and welcome our mayor. And I wasn't in the first meeting in our city manager, so I just want to say her publicly welcome too. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councilor Cohn. Councilor Gill.
So I will just take I don't know if I'm stealing Sal's thunder here, but just to remind everyone about our open forum tomorrow for Country Club Road. It's at the Montpelier High School cafeteria from 6 to 8. And we will have 4 stations set up. The developers will have their boards up. We have staff at each station. We'll have 4 computers for folks to provide input online. And we'll also have printouts of the survey in case people want to write it down. If people don't want to use a computer, we're trying to accommodate all learning styles as best as we can. Orca Media will be there to do the opening presentation. And it's really an opportunity for the community to get together, to look at the boards, to look at the ideas and converse with each other. And not just so people know, the developers aren't going to be there. They're not going to be getting specific questions answered about the development, but to talk to each other, the staff will be there to answer general questions, but really to generate ideas for them to provide back in the question survey that will be submitted to council so we can see what people are saying that could help, potentially influence our decision as council, who have the ultimate say on which developers we will and will not accept on April 22nd, if that's the date that we still have. And then just so you all know, the financial analysis should be done by Friday, I think. So we should have that by next week. So that'll be a really important piece of data for us to all look at if this project is financially feasible. So there are lots of ways to engage in this project, and Sal is the chair of this committee. He has done an absolute fabulous job. I could not have participated in this subcommittee without your leadership and all your smart questions that you have, and same with Ben getting into financials about all things that I don't know about. So I think, in my opinion, I think we make a good subcommittee, and and I'm excited about tomorrow and moving this project forward.
Thank you very much. Councilor Brown.
I just want to say I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to serve for another term at City Council. I'm very appreciative to people for voting for me. And it's true, there was nobody else on the ballot, but that didn't mean you had to vote for me. So I'm very appreciative of all of those votes. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Kelly for It's a great meeting. Well, great job.
Thank you. And Councilor Alfano.
On this first. So they could have written. Yes. No, I guess I must admit, I've actually enjoyed, being on council. I mean, it's a lot of work, but, it's a good group. When you like the work, that will work. A lot of thunder is gone, but, our mission tomorrow truly is to listen and not to opine too much. I mean, people will be curious. They'll ask us questions. And if you absolutely know a factual answer, go ahead. But I would probably, just try to direct people to staff members who have phoned up, presumably on their particular, there'll be a staff member at each of the 4 stations. But to direct people to the original document, if they have a substantive question that we're not quite sure what a lot of people are going to ask about, how many units of this and that, how many 3-bedroom units in the DPW proposal. It gets confusing, it's complicated. So try to listen and not talk too much, but be helpful if you can. Speaking of being helpful, I've been asked by at least one constituent to put together a comparative table, which I was kind of going to do for myself, and so I'm actually doing that. I don't think I have a piece of paper big enough, but I'm going to send. It won't be ready until after. I'm going to wait till after the financials are done, but I will send it out to the subcommittee members at the very least, and we'll be. I hope we'll be able to use it to do some comparison. I think we also ought to plan we were talking earlier, we also ought to plan a in-person meeting where we discuss what we can. I mean, some of the financials will be in executive session, but it's going to be hard to make the final decision, I think, via Zoom. So think about timing of that, or if you don't agree, I'm all in, but I think an in-person meeting, and we need to do that sometime in the next few weeks. So.
Great, thank you, Councilor Gold. Did you have something else to say? We have mayor's report, clerk's report, and manager's report. I'm not sure where the order comes, but I believe we do also open up a public comment period at the end of the meeting. So could someone remind me where that traditionally has been since we've changed the format?
Well, as parliamentarian.
Yeah, as parliamentarian.
What we have been doing recently is during general businesses and appearances, members of the public can speak on any topic, whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda at that time. Then we conduct the meeting. It's a purview of the mayor, right? If want to add additional public comment, but then prior actually to council reports, we've been opening up again for another opportunity for public comment to, again, members of the public can speak on any item in the agenda, comment on discussion that they've seen. And then at the conclusion of that, it's been councilor updates followed by, I actually don't remember how it works. If it's the mayor and then the city manager.
The mayor, clerk,
That's what it says here. So unless, I mean, if there are, I hope there are no objections, but in order to make sure we don't deny the public their opportunity to speak, it should have happened before council reports. Are there any members of the public who would like to say anything before we move forward with the rest of the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the mayor's report. I just want to say, again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve. I'm grateful for your patience and your grace as we learn our way through this. I feel like tonight's meeting went well, and I feel confident that we're gonna go from noob to rocking it in a very short amount of time. Having said that, I would like to encourage the public to engage in whatever listening sessions any members of council are offering. Is there a District 2 session coming up soon? Councilors Cohn or Alfano?
Third week of the month.
Yeah, 21st.
The 21st.
Yeah.
Okay. So the 21st, I will hold one at 8 a.m. at Cafe Noah this Friday, as I had been doing during the campaigning. And I think it would be great if we all collaborate where it's appropriate and make sure that we notify and support each other's efforts to engage more with the community.
We have
Councilor
one
Schrader.
April 4th, 9:30. At MCC here.
Okay, April 4th, 9:30 at least. You're writing this down? Thank you.
I think that's a Saturday.
Okay, great. That's the District 1 listening session. District 3, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We invite anybody.
Okay,
We too.
yay. Oh, I'm loving this. All right, so maybe next time we're looking at you, District 1, but that's the end of the mayor's reports. Mr. Odom, is there, I don't know what honorific to give you, Clerk Odom.
Just you over there, that guy. If you're looking at me, I know who you'll be talking to.
Okay.
I'll brag for a second since the Save America Act came up that I'm going to be on a panel discussing its impacts at the Election Verification Network Conference in Washington next week. So I'm very excited about that. It's folks from Common Cause and the panel moderators of former Secretary of State. So I'm very thrilled that they pick little old me too. Other than that, Board of Abatement meeting is likely to be that we'll get this out formally this week, but we're probably going to have one on March 31st. That's a Tuesday. And you should be hearing about that shortly, but just so you know it's coming.
Great, thank you very much. Councilor Curry. Manager Curry. Kelly.
Kelly is great. Okay, so being flat-footed on the CVRPC appointment, I pulled up and there's appointments run July 1st to June 30th. So there's no gap between now and think about it next time. That is a couple. And we'll bring back the information that you requested. A few things, I think we've been observing ice jam weather and conditions over the last few days. It looks like they've cleared up nicely, but shout out to our public safety team who's been keeping an eye on that and who deployed the long reach excavator in the event that we might have needed it. We have had that plan, they had that planning all teed up. So appreciate their attention to that. I got to drive around and see all the ice jam locations here yesterday. Super fun. Also, just want to thank our DPW team who hosted a staff lunch for all the staff today for kind of St. Patty's Day thing. That was a really lovely team building, and I was grateful to be able to attend, and great spirits and camaraderie. So many thanks to all who cooked and planned and cleaned and hosted staff for that. So we are, let's see, as the weather has gotten warmer, as you've heard from prior folks in the room, we are starting to see some homeless encampments happening, and so have had to initiate our response to our policy. One time this week, there's a few that are in the state purview that they're responding to as well, and so we are going to be dedicating time with our public safety team to really look at that and think about planning and all that. So that will inform, I think, the work that you and others do all of to come back. We're also receiving a bunch of event permits. So now that the weather is getting warmer, folks are planning the spring and summertime events. And so we are looking at those as well. I understand you all have some conversations about event planning policies in the past, which I'm coming up to speed on. And then also, trying to take lessons learned from emergency response from some of the events that had to be cleared and evacuated last summer, and really start to get organized internally on how we plan for those and then collaborate with partners who are as well. We are starting our initial interviews for first round finance director. I think next week we have our time carved out, and so hopefully to still continue that. We still welcome last minute applications. We've not closed the process at this point. I think one of our last finance directors, I'm told, was sort of a last minute entry and being the right candidate. for that. And then I will see you all tomorrow night at the Country Club Road event. Looking forward to meeting more members of the community. And I don't have a formal role. I will just sort of be helping make sure people know how to fill out the form and engage. And then I wanted to, something that the mayor and I have talked about a little bit is just making some updates to how the agendas are organized. I don't want to dive into discussion about this right now, but I can pass this out or send it out by email. What he has proposed some amendments to the kind of opening language for meeting logistics and introductions. And then I have proposed maybe how we group some things so it's very clear for your work, for members of the public, putting items that require public hearing first, action items after that, and then a kind of workshop discussion items towards the end. So that would let people get their business done earlier and then head out. And then also, if we start to fatigue and get tired, we are taking care of our actions at the top of the agenda. And so just proposing these for consideration. If they're helpful, these are your agendas. If they're just make this work for you all. And included in that, I've just turned on here a review of future agendas and listed the date and then the topics that we have, at least at the staff level, think that are coming in the future dates and that we're prepared for. And then we can sort of look and say, well, looks like we have a lot of room on this, as opposed to adding an hour on the 30th 3-hour, 4-hour meeting and say, let's take it to one where we don't fill up. So you can give me your input on this as you like and help with Mark, and we'll continue to refine this if it's again. I think that's it.
Thank you, Manager Curry. Thank you, everyone else. I am stoked. I believe we are adjourned at 9:57 p.m.